back to another episode of Collector's Quest. We have to get started before Johnny loses his fire. I'm Tyler, here with the aforementioned Johnny.
Ooh, I like that. The aforementioned, meaning I was mentioned previously. Yeah, I like it.
All right.
Sounds classy.
Johnny, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out, looking at video game stuff and getting annoyed because I think, Tyler, I've just become a boomer collector, and I was hoping you would talk me off the ledge.
Okay, so we're getting right into it. So you're a boomer collector now, Johnny? You're getting annoyed at what the kids are collecting?
I'm it's worse than that, Tyler. It's like, I think I'm angry, but I'm also confused, like an old person. What is going on? Who is this for? Why are they doing this? That's what's going on in my brain right now.
Let's talk about what we're talking about, Johnny. What you are confused
well, you didn't tell me if you're okay. You didn't tell me how you're doing.
I'm doing great.
Like, we usually do 10 minutes of bullshit before we get
well, you're the one who jumped right into it. What do you want me to do? I'm going with it.
You just said I was losing my fire. I'm getting there.
Oh
all right?
God.
I will fight you to the death. I imagine if we fight to the death, you're losing.
I very much agree with that. Yes, I would lose in a fight to the death with literally almost anyone. I'm a IT guy, video game collector who was never in the military, unlike you, Johnny.
That's not what would do it. It's just I think you would be more squeamish.
Oh, but maybe absolutely.
But you never know until you test it, Tyler. Let's see what happens. It'll be like our own little horror movie, like one of those movies where people like unlock their power when they're put in those horrible situations. Maybe that could be you.
I'll be like the bullied high school kid who snaps, and it turns out he could just like totally wreck the bullies when he goes full force and doesn't hold back.
Yeah, exactly. You just break past that psychological barrier, lose all empathy, and become a psychopath.
I don't want to do this. I'm a nice person, I feel like.
I think you are, but if someone's going to fight you to the death, unless it's me, I don't want you to lose, Tyler. I want you, mostly murder other people if it comes to that.
I mean, if I'm fighting someone to the death, all right, this is what we're going to talk about before the episode. I'm really going to consider who I'm fighting to the death. Like, if it's someone I know or love, I might just, lose by default. I'll be like, all right, you know what? You deserve it more than me. I'm a fucking video game collector. What have I done with my life? You probably have things going for you. I'm not a depressed person, by the way. I love my friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, if you just had to Sophie's choice, between yourself and certain people, you would just oftentimes pick yourself?
I guess, yeah, why not?
Okay. I mean, I think I used to feel that way a lot more, and then I had a child, and not that that's the but now I just feel like someone, before I just had no responsibility, so who gives a shit? Now it's like, oh yeah, I gotta I have this thing I have to take care of, so kind of gotta stick around.
This is a point that comes up in movies and TV shows and stuff, but
yeah.
If there's maybe let's say a 60-year-old dad and their 9-year-old kid and they have to choose who lives, come on, dad, how many decades you got left, dad? Save the kid. It's rude for you to prioritize yourself over your kid.
100%. Just take one.
If it's you and your friend and you're the same age, it's yeah, all right. If you save yourself, not your friend. But if you say your kid who's 30 years younger, go save your kid. He's got more to live for, dude. You already did it.
Yeah, so I was actually it's funny that this comes to this because I made some horrible jokes, and I'll make them here for our audience as well. So there was a case where my friend was telling me about this woman who was just found, this missing woman. She turned up dead, but they found some renters basically of a house they I think it was an Airbnb situation or something like that. But anyways, they found this woman stuck in a freezer, right? In a meat freezer that you would put in your garage. And apparently this woman had been missing for 9 years. So she'd been in this meat freezer for a long time. And she was older.
Was she okay?
No, she was very dead, Tyler. She had been dead for a very long time. But I was just my friend and I speculate that maybe it was a social security scam, the family, maybe they killed her, or maybe she just died. They just wanted to keep the checks. So they just because she was never reported missing in this time. But it just got me to thinking of people who murder very old people. And it's just what are you doing? Just the old people, The woman was 81. She was on her way out. What are you killing old people for? Just wait. Just wait. That's just going to happen.
It seems not worth
it. Leave it alone. Yeah. If you're going to kill somebody, like kill a child, really,
they have so much life
really
force
rob
left.
Someone
It'll feel so much better.
I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna do the time, you might as well really damage a family and, really extinguish a life before it has a chance to leave. You kill an 81-year-old, they're just like, that's almost like a mercy killing in some cases. So, yeah, it just seems like you really didn't have it in you.
That's a real great take, Johnny. Don't kill the elderly.
No, you don't kill anybody. That's I told you. I prefaced this, and I hope everyone heard that. Like, these are bad jokes that I made to a friend. Like, this is not my actual opinion. Don't kill anyone. Jesus. But yeah, we're just like, oh my God, someone for Social Security money just did this to someone. That's horrible. Most likely. Our hope was that she just like passed away, and they're just like, relentless scammers who are just like, well, if we just don't say anything, we'll just keep getting these checks. That's what we hope. That's like best case scenario, I think.
Not a really great best case scenario, but sure.
I mean, the worst case scenario is they like killed their grandma because they're like, well, grandma, we need this money and you are a pain in the ass and we're going to take your house and we're going to take your check. That's a much worse take, right?
I guess it is, Johnny.
Or not take, but scenario. It's a really great intro to Collector's Quest.
Yeah.
Going on.
As we were like guys. On the road to talking about like Nintendo Switch games. Then they're like, Tyler, I'll fight you to the death.
Yeah. I didn't mean to get here. This is not where I wanted to go. I was just like, well, maybe we just talk for a few minutes. I didn't give you a chance to say anything. I just jumped right into it. And now I regret where I got to. I regret what we've done here. If only there was some way to eliminate all of it.
Are you saying eliminate down, Johnny?
Yeah, we could eliminate this down. Like, we could probably cut it, or nope. We could talk about things like eliminate down, though. The game. Hey, Tyler, did you know that it just got a physical release, Eliminate Down? Have you ever heard of this game?
Eliminate Down, the legendary game, as stated on medium.com by a guy who writes articles and puts shmups in quotes every time he says the word shmups.
Hold on, legendary?
It's legendary. Everybody is always thinking about Eliminate Down and how they can add it to their collection.
Can you maybe give me some examples of things that might be legendary items?
Like the Nintendo World Championships, the Holy Grail. You just mean like in general, like the Holy Grail, pretty legendary. Yeah. Excalibur, pretty legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like those would be legendary items. I'll give you that. Fucking Eliminate Down, a thing that costs like maybe $1,000. Legendary. It's so legendary it didn't even get a US release. Legendary. It's not that it couldn't have. They just didn't.
There's a weird number of copies on eBay, considering it's a Japanese game. There's maybe like 5 complete in box for like $1,000 video game.
I mean, isn't it probably just faked a ton?
No, there's a bunch of fakes too, but like there's $5,000, $2,000 copies.
Okay. Yeah, it's like for something that is so legendary, it's like this game, like Daddy Moke will correct us, but it just seems like there's enough of this game if the hardcore collectors wanted one.
I mean, I don't care that there's enough of it. I mean, it's still an expensive game. I just think like shooter people and maybe certain Sega people care. I mean, whatever. It's cool that they're releasing this game, right, Johnny? I mean, it doesn't have to be something for everybody. It's shooters. It's a niche genre to begin with.
Yeah. Yep. It's the most collectible legendary item I can think of.
Johnny, this episode is going to be about retro re-releases, whether we're talking about reissued real cartridges like Eliminate Down, which is a real physical Sega Genesis cartridge that's getting released in America for the first time, and the absolute plethora of retro compilation and HD remaster re-releases on Switch and PS4. But we're being realistic. Forget the PS4. We're just going to talk about Switch games, basically, because most of these are on PS4 as well, but who cares?
Yeah, the Switch is the port machine. If you ever loved a game, it's now on the Switch. Congratulations. Yeah, I kind of want to look at this and talk about whether we think this is good. And this is not a new phenomenon. This has been happening for a while now. And it's just got me thinking like, okay, now we're kind of hitting this point where, it's like we have to pick on limited run games because they are the main purveyor of this kind of stuff. But, yes, they've been bought out. Everything about them has changed. Yes, I acknowledge and we understand that. But the model used to be like forever physical, and that's what got everyone there. And that was like their thing, right? We're going to take games that never got physical releases and release them forever physical. Now it's just like, hey, look at all these physical games that got physical releases that we're giving physical releases to because somebody might want them now. It just seems are we missing the mark? Is this good? Is this bad? And this is not the only media that this is happening in. And I've been on the side of releases of media that allows more people to play. I just don't know if like a cart re-release of Eliminate Down really qualifies for that because it doesn't help anyone in the modern era really play this game. I think if you want to play this game, you could just go play the ROM, right? Am I crazy here? Am I off base?
All right. So let me defend them buying the rights to Eliminate Down for $5,000 and putting out a limited run of these cartridges.
Well, I think they are. They're a distributor of this. I think this was actually done by Retrobit. So just so we.
Oh, I didn't even realize it's on limited run games. But yeah, it's one of these Retrobit things. But. Yep. You could say about all these cult horror movies that get these expensive Blu-ray releases, like, okay, why are you buying, Basket Case 17, whatever, like, really obscure cult horror movie? You could just go, like, download that. Which,
yeah,
I feel like is less socially acceptable, maybe, than downloading old video games. Like, downloading ROMs is so acceptable because there's no other way to get these old video games. Like,
yeah, there's no like the license holders and all that. It's so murky. Like who is missing out on the money if you do that?
Yeah, at any point in history, if you have wanted to watch Top Gun, you could go to Walmart and buy Top Gun, or or go to Blockbuster or some movie place, and you could buy a copy of Top Gun, whether it's on VHS, whether it's on DVD, whether it's on Blu-ray. There will always be Top Gun. If you want to play The Magic of Scheherazade and it's 1995 and your Funkoland doesn't have it in stock, The Magic of Scheherazade is just gone. No one has the rights to that. No one has re-released that on Steam or PC. No one ported it to a newer console. It's just gone. Right. And I feel like, so you saying like, yeah, just go play the ROM. The only reason that's socially acceptable is because it is so hard to find legitimate releases of this old stuff. So this Retrobit Eliminate Down for $55, whatever it is, it's a fine price. It is bringing a legitimate way to purchase this game.
Okay. But that wasn't the license holder. Like, this is somebody who just, they're like, I think we can seize an opportunity because I guarantee part of the process they look at is just like, what are these kind of cult favorite games? And like, let's go look on eBay and see what kind of games in these like popular genres have a ton of like bullshit copies available.
Oh, that's 100% it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they just go and they look. That's what I'm saying. Like, so the people who are excited, they're like, finally I can own Eliminate Down. It's like, well, is this real? Like, is this a legit copy? Is this fine? Like, and it might just be fine. Like if we look at vinyl, right? Like people are buying the licenses to old vinyl and they're like re-releasing it and, sprucing it up and giving it fine editions. Comic books get re-released, special editions of this kind, this limited media is interesting. As like physical media dwindles, like, is this okay? Also with Blu-rays right now, with especially 4K Blu-rays, there's this whole thing where they're following the vinyl model and like these big releases just aren't getting physical copies anymore. And like big studios are now releasing their movies to people like Arrow Video and Shout Factory so they can do these special edition 4K Blu-ray movies. That are now in the days of like basically $10 and $15 Blu-rays is over. It's all going to be like $45, $50 special editions from now on for like big movies. I think as they move out of Best Buy and Walmart and Targets and stuff, like, I think that's the model. So am I missing, is this what is also like happening here? Like in the same way vinyl is like an old media style. It just became, this is with movies, the Premiere Collector format is like looking like it's going to be 4K Blu-rays. Like, this is our premium collector. If you are a collector of movies, here you go. And then for music, it became vinyl. Is this going to be like what it is for video games?
I think we'll get there eventually, probably.
Yeah, we've talked about that, like how we could map the vinyl future, but is that going to be like a Switch version, or are we going to be releasing old cartridges like this?
I think we'll be releasing old cartridges because it's not hard to reproduce a PCB for any random thing. Like, we have the schematics, we have the ROMs that we could pump in there, and a lot of things are just discs, and we could press those discs. I don't know if we can do like PS3, PS4 without Sony's permission. I don't know how disc DRM works. But like, we could make a Dreamcast game, even if Sega doesn't want us to make a Dreamcast game. If we have the rights to a Dreamcast game, we can make that Dreamcast game. I don't think it's similar to 4K Blu-rays yet, because you look at these movie distributors right now, and you brought up like Shout Factory. You go to Shout Factory's website and you look at their movies, and it is super curated. You look at it, it's like Clue, Halloween, Black Christmas, Point Break, Fargo. Like, all of these are either cult movies or very, very popular movies. They're clearly not just getting whatever they can. With the limited run game stuff, like what we've seen over like the past 5-10 years, it's the same thing as when someone starts collecting video games and they're just like, oh my God, there's so many video games. I just need to get anything. Just like, what can I buy? I could get that for $7. And they look at like, Eliminate Down. They're like, we could get the Eliminate Down license for $5,000. Yeah, let's go re-release that. That's awesome.
We could get Three Stooges.
Yeah, the freaking Three Stooges on GBA. It's like, I don't know. I kind of recognize that license. What? They don't want any money for it? Yeah, let's do it.
GBA and the NES version of Three Stooges.
Great. Those have to be different games, because there's no way they ported the NES game to GBA.
Even if they did, my take on that. Even if they did, it won't be exactly the same. It'll still, but yeah, it's just, what a trash release. I don't understand that. And I think you're right, because like, if you look over at Arrow Video, they're releasing Conan, Weird Science, True Romance. These are popular films, like you said, either popular or cult films. This is the good stuff.
Yeah, and like, they're trying, I feel like, to get some stuff that collectors will be interested in, because obviously they need to sell some copies. But when they dilute their shit with things like Three Stooges on NES, like an absolute trash pile of a game, it makes it very much look like, okay, we're just re-releasing whatever we can get our hands on. And so that kind of makes it, limited run games is not going to be the distributor like an Arrow Video or a Shout Factory. But someone else will in the future, I think. I think like Retrobit, a lot of these shooters and platformers are coming out from Retrobit. Like, I think they have a chance to be like seen as like this label for shooter re-releases. And that would be similar to what we're seeing in the movie market. Like, yeah, I think going forward, we're going to see stuff like this.
And then they started with Holy Diver, right? And like Eliminate Down, it's not a bad choice. Look, it's not easy to get, and it is expensive. Like, it's clearly not Three Stooges, right? Like, this is a fine choice in which to like kind of bring back. When they did Holy Diver, I was like, yeah, that's like a kind of a cool choice, right? Like, I was on board for that. Eliminate Down, I feel like a little less so. I wonder if that's just like some weird Nintendo bias coming through for some reason. But also, like, I just feel like there's so many more of these kind of releases now that I've kind of put my hands up like, whoa, what is happening? Why are so many of these coming out now? Because there's a lot, and we're going to cover some of them. We'll talk about how we feel about it in general. This is just kind of our warm up talk into it. But yeah, I think you could be right though with Retrobit. And will we see other companies follow suit with like these specialty releases? And when we think about, like, let's say the Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Genesis, right? Like, how many good games can you actually go get that Nintendo doesn't own exactly?
Like, right? Like, if you're doing like the SNES re-release collection, like, oh, okay, so it has everything except the games that actually matter on SNES.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a universe where you see like the Final Fantasy 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, like you could get Castlevanias, and like they're all the RPGs. Like, I'm surprised we haven't seen like the Premier RPG line yet.
It is, yeah. I don't know why we're not seeing that kind of stuff. I have to imagine like Shantae on Game Boy Color must have sold like absolute gangbusters for limited run games.
You would think it must have. I mean, and people were so excited, and this is the thing. They're so excited to not have the thing, Tyler, and this is the confusing part to me. Like, Eliminate Down didn't come out here. It doesn't have a US release. This is the first US copy of Eliminate Down coming out, much like Holy Diver. Okay. Shantae was released here. It's just expensive. If you just want to play it, then just play it. But like, what is buying the $40 copy do? Like, just to own it? Like, is it for the collection? Is this like, does it become a trophy? Because it's not the expensive thing. It's just a sad copy of the expensive thing. And I'm not trying to gatekeep it and be like, oh, well, if you don't have money, like, I know people are going to be like, yeah, not everyone has money, Johnny. I get that. But I just like, what is the thing here? Because that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around, Tyler. What is owning that version for?
I I feel the same way.
Yeah.
If you own Shantae and like you're not going to buy a $2,000 Game Boy Color game. Like, I get that. But if you have 20 of these re-releases and you're like a Shantae fan, you're like, you want to have the $40 Shantae, like, why did you buy 20 of these limited run game re-releases rather than just Shantae? And it might actually be like 40 for like Shantae, but yeah, I'm about like not buying this stuff and just saving up. Like, don't buy like 20. I know that's a lot. That might be like 2 years of limited run games, garbage purchases like this, and they might not be entirely garbage purchases. But if you hold up on a lot of this sort of impulse buy stuff, because you would not, the only reason you're buying this is because it's available. They did not come out with whatever exactly what you want is. You're just like, oh, Eliminate Down. Oh, that's kind of expensive and rare. Like, oh, that might be an interesting thing to spend $60 on. Just like, don't buy a lot of those and you'll be able to afford a $900 copy of Eliminate Down. If that's what you really want, but most likely that is not what you really want. You have something else that you really want. It's not Eliminate Down.
Right. So it's confusing. I'm trying to wrap my head around it because, Tyler, I did some of this. Like, I understand that some people like to play games on the original hardware. Like, oh, okay, I can go play this. That's like, is that still a valid argument? Because I did this back in the day. And then, we're talking like 2006, 2007-ish time. Like, I bought some Genesis games and some Super Nintendo RPGs that had been translated so I could play them here. I was like, oh yeah, like, cool. I can finally like play them over here. I wasn't doing the ROM thing. I'm like, oh, I want to play it on my Super Nintendo. So I was fine just playing it, but I didn't think, there was nothing in my head that thought, oh, I've got the thing. You know, it wasn't like, I've done it. I've collected the game that I always wanted. I always wanted, Clock Tower for the Super Nintendo. I've collected it. I feel so good. Like, I didn't get that. I was just like, oh, I really wanted to play Clock Tower, and I heard it came out in Japan, and now there's like a patched version, so I'm gonna go get it. So,
I think it's similar to individual comic issues versus like the high quality trade paperbacks. Like, I'm Johnny. I'm gonna say it right now. I know this is really revealing my financial situation here. I'm never going to own a copy of Action Comics 1. But I bought the first like DC Comics Superman trade paperback. There's like a million of these, but I bought like one of them because I want to read the first issues of Superman. And that's kind of like, it's like different parts of my collection. Like, I have my collectible comic books, and then my trade paperbacks is just like the crap I'm reading. But they're so separate for me that like I would never look at like that trade paperback with Action Comics 1 in it and see that as a substitute for Action Comics. Like, obviously, I'm not seeing that as a substitute for that. And I like these kind of re-releases are like a little bit more substitute-y, I feel like. Like, they're trying to position themselves as a substitute.
Okay, so it's not just me, because I'm like, if you just want to play it like on the console, like I kind of get that, but there's so many back in 2007, 2006, 2005, right? It was harder. It was harder to get ROMs. It wasn't that hard, right? But it was like harder to get it to play on the original console if you want to. Like you could go play a ROM on your computer, but like if you want to play on the original hardware, it was a little bit more of a task. Now it's gotten like, I feel like it's just gotten very easy. There's so many like systems out there, so many ways that you can kind of play with an original controller now that it's not that hard. So yeah, this does feel more substitutey to me. But I'm like trying to make sure that it's not just like some bullshit collectory gatekeeping thing I'm doing to be like, this is really stupid. Don't do this.
Oh, no, we're definitely doing collectory gatekeeping things here.
Okay.
But,
okay.
So I don't want to call the ROM a substitute because, again, Matt Bozon has listened to this show. He could be listening right now. He potentially gets some amount of sense when you buy that $40 copy of Shantae from Limited Run Games. And that is, there's probably digital re-releases, but that's like the legitimate way. If you actually want to play Shantae, that's the $40 that you could spend to go play Shantae. Or I'm sure it's like $15 digitally or something. And like playing the ROM is not really like the ethical substitute for doing that, even if it is very easy.
Right. Well, for Shantae, Way Forward is still around. They're like still kicking. Like, yeah, you know me. I don't even want people to buy used games from GameStop because then I feel like publishers lose out on money. So like if the company is still around and they can still be paid, and I'm not talking like the Konamis and the Capcoms of the world who are like they've just shit on all of their licenses. I don't feel exactly the same way about that, but like especially smaller publishers. Sure. I don't know. I have not navigated my thoughts, and that's kind of why I want to talk about this and talk through some more games. And you can tell me how you feel, and I'll tell you how I feel, and see if we can come to some kind of accord. Or is this just are we in a wasteland? Is this a wasteland of false collectability that where I feel like younger people, new collectors get pretty hosed, right? Like all the old stuff that was cool and collectible, it's all gone up, and now they're kind of priced out. And now we're giving them a bunch of fake shit that isn't real and isn't really going to gain money and is never going to be collectible as like, as like more gotcha bullshit. I worry about that.
I have two responses to that, Johnny. One, no one is priced out of collecting anything. Seriously, if you started collecting today, like go get Halo, go get Dark Souls. Like all the best games of all time cost nothing. There's so many of them. Just get them in mint condition because no one cares when they just buy random Halo off eBay. You have 600 to choose from. Go get a mint condition one for $12.
Buy a sealed one. Not that expensive. Well, Halo sealed is a little expensive because there's collectors, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. You can still go buy a sealed Last of Us for like $50 if you want to spend $50.
So you said like they're getting hosed with the stuff that's not going to be collectible, and like I kind of agree, and we are collector gatekeeping here. But if let's look 10 years down the line. If you're just buying all this shit, if you have the Limited Run Games Shantae, the Limited Run Games Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, the Limited Run Games Jurassic Park collection with the Jurassic Park Game Boy and NES game re-releases, if you just have like all this like weird Limited Run Games big box shit on your shelf, it is that collection doesn't look collectible to me. I don't know. It's kind of the thing where like if it says collector's edition, it's not collectible. You're just kind of consuming all the things that this company is telling you is like the exciting thing to consume. It is the millennial Gen X version of boomers who buy things from like the Franklin Mint, which if you don't know is like an infomercial, like collectible coin company to like scam senior citizens.
You too can own all 50 state coins in this stunning blue case.
Yes, it's exactly that. And I think that's what your collection's going to look like if it's like mostly composed of like this weird limited edition and re-release stuff. Rather than, and I'm sorry to say it, real video games. And these are real video games, like Eliminate Down, that the first time it's released in America. That's cool. But like if you're only buying the stuff that this company tells you is collectible, you're definitely missing a big portion of video games that are actually like interesting and collectible. Because this is just consuming product. This is not like finding stuff that was lost in the wild and you have rediscovered it and preserved it on your shelf. This is from a Chinese manufacturer to a shipping warehouse to your shelf. That is, it's a different type of collecting, I'll say.
Yeah, and the specifically the ones that are compilations that they're like compilations that just are coming out on the Switch, Xbox, PS5 or whatever. Like those ones are kind of worse, especially because they're all like they give these special big box weird releases with with all the shit we hate that comes with them. But you could just go to Play Asia and buy them for like $40. No frills, just get these. Yes, they limited run or strictly limited games or whoever is going to have their version of it too. That's like the $40 one, but it just feels weird that they come over and like, oh, look at this big collectible we re-released, like we've done it. Not really. They're just out there and available. I've always felt a little strange about that. Anyways, do we want to go to the list and we can go through some of them and we can talk through it. Tell me if you feel like it's a good release, bad release. And right. Using Eliminate Down, I feel like that's an okay release. Like first time in America, it is expensive. Like I can see the appeal of Eliminate Down, just like I said with Holy Dive. I kind of get that one, but Three Stooges, I don't understand at all. You can buy Three Stooges for the NES for like $50. Why would you go pay limited run $50 for the fake version of Three Stooges? I'm very confused.
Yeah, I did that. Not Three Stooges, but I bought a few of those original Star Wars games that they re-released. To be fair, this is when they first started doing like the cartridge re-releases. I'm like, oh, these are like an interesting new Nintendo thing. And, hindsight, now I'm over it, and now they're just going to come out all the time, and I'm like, all right, these are not that interesting. I did not need to buy Star Wars on NES, the limited run collector's edition. It's just another stupid big box that I don't have a good place on my shelf to put, and it's just going to get thrown with all these other stupid big boxes that are all mismatched sizes, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of the things I bought.
Big. So they're so big. I don't understand why those special editions were so big. Hey, before we go any further, I just wanted to tell you that Arrow Video has a special 4K UHD copy of Waterworld for you. So if you want to get back into,
please don't buy that. Thank you. Johnny did buy me the Laserdisc of Waterworld.
Hey, the widescreen, so you didn't miss anything.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for looking out for me there.
Yeah, I didn't want you to miss any of that side footage. I just know how much you love Waterworld. If the show doesn't know, you have a special place in your heart for Waterworld.
I do like Waterworld.
Yeah. Anyways, like I said, I hope when you saw that in the mail, I hope you just chuckled. I don't expect you to play it or necessarily even keep it. You have my permission to throw it in the trash.
I immediately sent a picture to one of my friends who got me Waterworld on VHS for my wedding. So people like giving me Waterworld stuff.
So, which is the more useless copy, the VHS or the Laserdisc?
Oh, the VHS, because it's bigger. I have, like 20 or so Laserdiscs, so it just slots right in there. I don't know what to do with the VHS. I don't have any VHSs.
And it's like a double VHS, isn't it?
Not the one I got. I got the collector's edition, Johnny, which is actually a re-release that is less collectible in my opinion. So,
okay. I wasn't sure because Waterworld was kind of long, wasn't it? Wasn't it like over 2.5 hours?
I don't know, Johnny. I don't know how VHSs work. Maybe they made it on an extended play. They just put it in lower quality. Maybe for like the re-releases, they just did lower quality.
That's like no one's gonna play this.
Yeah,
anyways.
there's
no one's playing these. Anyways, as you were saying, it did start with Star Wars. This is like the thing that came out, and my hackles went up. Like I think we did an episode when that came out, and I was like, I don't know if I like this. Why do we need copies of The Empire Strikes Back on the Game Boy for more money than you can just go buy a copy of The Empire Strikes Back for? That's very confusing to me. Still true. Especially because they were releasing it as like the cart only on a blister. And that was like, what the fuck is even happening?
Yeah.
Just terrible. But we've come a long way from them. And so the ones I've got listed here, Tyler, these are all newer, like in the last 6 months. Okay. So
to be clear, like I thought we were going to have to like track down people who are like keeping track of Switch physical releases lists. And like I thought I was going to have to find like someone making a list of all the Play Asia releases that are, because they all these retro re-releases, they come out in Play Asia and then Limited Run Games picks up some of them and makes ESRB releases of them. But no, you just go to their website, like Limited Run Games or Play Asia, and like 50% of every single thing on their website is one of these retro re-releases. Ugh. It's like all they're selling.
That's crazy.
The people are chomping at the bit for the Cosmic Fantasy collection, Johnny. The first two Cosmic Fantasy PC Engine games with new translations.
I was going to say, what's Cosmic Fantasy again?
Johnny, one of our Patreon's patrons is named after a cosmic fantasy character.
Oh no, shit. Did I step in it?
I don't remember.
I'm just kidding.
Which character.
You don't remember which character? No. And we have some big Turbo fans here. So like Cosmic Fantasy is a game. The system you're going to find it on most readily if you are collecting here in America is the TurboGrafx 16, right?
I mean, I think, yeah, it's just a TurboGrafx game.
Okay. PC Engine TurboGrafx. But they made a collection of this now. So what's new about it? What's good about it?
So I love this. This is a working designs game, but they retranslated the first two games. So I know working designs, they were sometimes a little fucky with their translations. So they're just like, no, we're just going to do this right. Fuck working designs. All right. That's kind of interesting that we got a new official translation. I think 2 RPGs or RPG visual novels. I don't really know what Cosmic Fantasy is. I'm sorry. Dungeon crawler. Anyway, 2 of those for like what, $50. See, it's an okay deal. Like if you're actually going to play that, I'm sure the value is there. But Cosmic Fantasy has 4 games. So they're going to split it into 2 different collections, each with 2 games. When like literally, if you priced the collection, if you were going to make a price for a collection of 2 Cosmic Fantasy games or 4 Cosmic Fantasy games, they would have the same price. So I understand that they are just splitting them up so they could double their money, but like there's no reason to do that in the real world. Like we have Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. It has like the 40 best Sega Genesis games ever made, and they just put it all on one $30 disc. That is maybe this is just the changing world. Like this is where you have like, we have to appreciate the individual game. We can make these little Toa Plan shooter collections and just have 2 games each on them.
I want to give us a correction. It is also available on Sega CD in Japan. Yeah. And Cosmic Fantasy 2 is a Turbo CD game.
Are you talking about Cosmic Fantasy 1? Because I don't know anything about Cosmic Fantasy 1.
Yeah. Yes, it's on the Sega CD. Mega CD.
Or are you talking about Cosmic Fantasy Stories on the Sega CD?
Oh, is that... I thought that was
know
1
nothing
and 2.
about the Cosmic Fantasy series. I just went to the Wikipedia and it says Cosmic Fantasy Stories.
Did I? Okay, I may have got that wrong. Okay, my correction is bad. I didn't realize it was Cosmic Fantasy Stories. But yeah. Anyways, Cosmic Fantasy 2 is a Turbo CD game. I think we're saying. I don't want people to think we're talking about a U-card game. Yeah, I don't understand the dividing this up either. Aside from like trying to make more money, but. Whatever. So this one, they're not like trying to put it on like a CD to play in your TurboGrafx CD player. They're not putting it on like a Hue card or on a Mega CD to go play. They've just put it on the Switch or PS4. And I'm like kind of fine with these. Like I am for making old games in the newest format, re-releasing them. You know, I'm okay with that. Like keep re-releasing games. Fine. Super Mario Wonder gets a re-release on the Switch too. Fine. Last of Us 2 gets a re-release on the PS5. Fine. I'm okay with it. Like, make games accessible. Yes, Last of Us is kind of extreme because the PS4 and PS3 are still very widely available and easy to go get. But other things, less widely available, like a TurboGrafx, yeah, especially CD, the dread that is trying to play Turbo CD games, yeah, put these out. I'm fine with this edition. Like, good re-release, I think. Yeah? Or do you feel different? It would be better if it was all 4. Agreed on that part.
I really don't like these. I don't like bundles and re-releases in general. In terms of collecting, obviously, it's fine if you want to go play them. It's great that they have like a new translation and all that. So,
yeah, this is to play. If you're going to collect, go buy the original thing. This isn't so expensive that you couldn't go buy this.
And yeah, sure. Like I don't know how much Cosmic Fantasy costs. It's an RPG. I have to imagine a PC Engine RPG would not be that very expensive. There's probably a bunch of them. I really don't like that this is 2 out of the 4 main Cosmic Fantasy games. So when you look at these Blu-ray companies, like, yes, they're charging you like $40 to $80 for a single movie, which is ridiculous. But then they've got the 4K transfer. They've got all the special features. They've got the nice packaging. Like, they really highlight, like, if you're buying like whatever the best version of RoboCop is to buy, you are getting like, okay, this is the definitive version of RoboCop. And it might not be the original VHS release or whatever, but like I've got all the features, is the best possible way of the movie, and it really highlights this is just RoboCop. This isn't RoboCop 1 and 2 that I got out of the Walmart $5 bin. And I feel like when they do it like this, it feels a little bit like Cosmic Fantasy 2 1 and 2 that I got out of the Walmart $5 bin. I feel like there's two things you could do. You re-release each game individually, really highlight that each one of these games is an important game that needs to be highlighted on its own. It's not just trash that we're throwing into a compilation for you to feel like you're getting a good value. Or you put all of the Cosmic Fantasy games in one bundle. It might be a more expensive bundle, and then just have it be the definitive Cosmic Fantasy, box set sort of thing. Because, you've got like Criterion puts out these box sets of every Godzilla movie, every Ingmar Bergman movie. Like there are good box sets that do highlight individual things well and like have the special features around them and like really make them feel important. Unlike, and then there's the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, which is just like, here's all the shit and it's cheap because it's a bundle. And this kind of middle ground, I hate it. This is neither for collecting nor for, it doesn't do anything for me. Don't like it.
Well, yeah, like I said, fine for playing, not for collecting. So I want to give some updates. Like, so let's say you were really high on this Final Fantasy, Cosmic Fantasy Collection. Part 2 is already available in Japan. I didn't check this. A lot of times these Japanese Switch releases too already have like English. You'll have to check that. But if you want number 2, you want a new and sealed one right now on eBay, $250 for a brand new sealed TurboGrafx CD game. Okay, like if you wanted the collectible thing. If you want the original Japanese versions of this, you can buy Cosmic Fantasy 2 for $7. That's cool. Number 1 for like $10. Yeah, these are like $20 and $30 games. You can get all the original copies if you wanted the original collectible ones. And hey, if you wanted some ultra rare Cosmic Fantasy arcade tokens, you could get those too for like $15. So great. You could build your own collectible bundle.
I mean, that would be better, like having whatever original Cosmic Fantasy stuff. I'm sure they give you like a pin in... Oh, yeah, you could buy the $45 version of Cosmic Fantasy Collection, or the $80 version comes with a pin, Johnny. Yeah. Yeah,
so what I'm saying is go buy all 4 of them and this arcade token, and you've done it. You've spent about the same amount of money.
All right, since you brought this up, this is another difference from movies. So if you went and you spent $15 in the first 2 Cosmic Fantasy games on PC Engine, let's say you $25, let's get like the nicest copies you could find, and you just rip those and you apply a translation patch, which I have to be 100% sure those are out there, you are kind of getting the real experience there. That is like still the perfect experience of playing Cosmic Fantasy. You could be playing it on an emulator, you could be playing it on original hardware with a scaler. Maybe you like playing it in standard definition on a CRT, but whichever one of those you choose, that is the best possible experience of Cosmic Fantasy, because it's not like a VHS tape where like the VHS version of RoboCop sucks. There's nothing good about the VHS copy of RoboCop. And that is where these 4K Blu-ray distributors really come into play, because especially these guys that get like these cult horror films and things like that, or, even, talking about Shout Factory getting like Point Break, like that's a classic, like cult classic, let's call freaking Point Break. But like the 4K Blu-ray release of Point Break is for all time, probably like the definitive version of that. No matter how much of a fan or collector you are, like you won't be happy watching the VHS copy of Point Break, however original that is. You will have to buy the 4K version of Point Break to be happy with it. Whereas with video games, since they're digital to start with, having the original is already the best thing you could possibly have. And like, yes, there are HD like remasters and stuff, but we have like just upscaling the original video to HD. That's like as good. That's the same thing as an HD remaster, as long as you have a good scaler.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's different from movies, and kind of always will be. And this is an aspect of video games that makes it different from most collectibles, I think.
Yeah, I agree. That these are all very valid points.
I'm going to throw out a controversial one. Johnny, I don't like reading comic books from like the 80s because the paper sucks. Like I like reading comic books from the 2000s. I'm fine with that. But like if you're if you're throwing just like a random Green Lantern comic book at me, I don't want to read some like 1982 Green Lantern. I'll read the trade paperback or I'll read it digitally just because the paper sucks in the 80s. It's a less enjoyable experience to read the real comic book.
Yeah, I mean, I read those as a kid a lot, so like the paper, it does have a very distinct feel. It feels a lot different than modern comics. But you know me, I've been reading digitally for so long, or in trades and stuff. That's just my preferred way to read it. That way, when you're holding a comic now, like as an adult, I can't separate like thinking as a collector versus as a person who is just like enjoying a comic. So I'm just like. Yeah, like I'm like, oh god, I feel like I'm gonna damage this thing. It's just like, you know what, fuck it, just read it digitally, and then I'll just put tape this bitch up and put it in a box and feel fine about it. Fine, I paid twice, whatever, I don't care.
Every time I've read a comic in like the last 15 years, like I'm too scared to open the pages all the way. And like, I'm never going to resell it. I'm talking about like $4 comics that I just bought because they're like, there's some things I want to read. I'm never going to resell them. They're never going to have any value because comics only have value if they're 9.8 now. And I still won't just like press it flat so I can fucking read the book right.
Yep.
Same. I hate collectability is the worst. It's garbage.
The fucking worst. And having a collector brain is the worst because that book, which is never going to be a key and is going to be in the 10-cent bin in the very near future, you're just like, oh, I got to keep it pristine. So stupid.
I buy Zelda, the Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm like opening it. I'm like, oh no, I'm taking the shrink wrap off a video game. It's like, it's Zelda. You got it. You got to play the Zelda game. What are you doing? You can't be sad about this.
That's loser mentality. That's why you're never going to get rich in the future, Tyler.
It's true. Guys, this is a pretty hot spec tip. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a lot of sealed copies of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think people aren't going to remember to keep Zelda Tears of the Kingdom sealed. I think that's going to be a big one. On the flip side, like, it'll probably be worth at least double at some point in the future just because it's Zelda. It doesn't matter how many people keep it sealed. It'll still be worth $120 at some point.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
Promise. Okay. Let's we can go much faster now.
All right.
And just like we got a list here, and like some of them are interesting. Cosmic Fantasy I thought was like because the first of that specific iteration that I wanted to talk about. But another like this, a little bit different, the Ultimate Tiger Healy compilation. How are you feeling about this one? Because this has some distinction here. There's not just like the NES version of Tiger Healy or just the arcade version.
So this is weird because I couldn't figure out how this is being distributed. So this exists in Japan, and it has Tiger Heli, Kyokyoku Tiger, and Twin Cobra, which are 3 arcade games. And then it has DLC that includes the NES, Mega Drive, and PC Engine versions of those games. But I couldn't find anywhere on the Limited Run Games website if that DLC is now going to be included on cartridge, which I feel like is something that they do normally do, and they try to do. So if this is a collection of the 9 games, and if these are all the Tiger Heli games, I don't even know. I'm not like a Tiger Heli fan. I'm sorry for telling. If this is the Tiger Heli compilation, if these all 9 of these games, if that's every version of Tiger Heli, fine, I'm in. Then I'm in on this because it's everything. This is the RoboCop collector's edition that includes, RoboCop 1 through 3. Is there a 4th RoboCop that came out recently and I'm forgetting? Maybe I'm thinking of the video game. Okay, doesn't matter. If it's everything, I'm in. If it's not everything, I hate it. If it's like, and if it has DLC, like I 100% hate it. Forget that. The ones that get me though are. And it's the same reason as Cosmic Fantasy, but they'll have these shooter collections, and one of them, let me go find it. What is it? It's Zero Wing and Hellfire. I forgot I can't find it. I don't know what they called it, but it's just like 2 shooters. And I feel like you're making them less valuable by saying like, these aren't important enough to release on their own. Like you're saying like, no one would buy just Zero Wing or Hellfire, but if we make a shooter compilation, people like feeling like they're getting a good value, and it feels like the Walmart $5 DVD bin, and I don't like it.
Yeah, so this was the Toplan shooter collection, and it had Truxton as well and Fire Shark.
What? So there are so many, like there are so many of these shooter collections that I don't even know which one. Are you saying that one also has Zero Wing and Hellfire?
Yeah, so there was 4 of them, and they came out on cartridges. They were re-released, the Toplan Shooter Collection, and they all have cart re-releases, Genesis cart re-releases, and they come in a box set.
Okay, I might be. This might be a Japanese only release, so there is a Japanese release that's just Zero Wing and Hellfire, though.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this was Retro Brit also did this one, which was the collection of these 4 in the Toplan Shooter Collection, and it came in a box set that says like volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they like make a spine art, and it's a box with all of them in there, and it's just that thing I hate, Genesis carts with ugly shells and not the original thing, and stickers.
Oh, stop including stuff with your games, guys. What if I look at the $200 RoboCop collector's edition that I'm making up in my brain? You know what it doesn't include? It doesn't include a RoboCop pin, and it doesn't include RoboCop stickers, because that shit is cheap. You know what's not cheap? The special features that they put on the disc, the media, the thing that matters. That's what's not cheap. And you know what's fucking cheap? This Zero Fire Toplan Arcade Garage re-release. It only includes the arcade versions of the game, and there's 6 fucking console versions and their DLC. Why are you making this special edition that's supposed to be like, oh, this is the cool thing, oh, we put all the special features, and you have to buy the special features separately? That makes it like not the thing. The thing, if you want the complete package, if you're going to give me everything with Zero Wing in one package, that makes it feel important. None of these feel important. They feel budget.
It does feel gross. And also, just to let you know, putting stickers in, you've never changed my mind. I wasn't like, oh shit, stickers. Now I'm in for $40 more. Just not. And like a sticker and like a pin and a certificate also aren't convincing me. They're like you're not.
Wait, Johnny, hold on.
For me.
What about a lithograph?
No, please don't. Especially if you put it outside of the box. Just stop that. Anyways, yeah, I don't. Not into it as well. I don't understand when they throw shit like that in there. Just don't. I'm like, it's just not the difference maker that I think they think it is. Like, we have to give them something so they see the value. And like, maybe there's data out there that says people really see the value if we give them a sticker sheet, but I don't know who those people are and why they would feel that way.
I'm sorry. I know there's someone, I mean, we have enough listeners that there's potentially listeners who buy all the limited run games, special editions. I give you guys permission to buy the one that's half the price that doesn't include the stickers and pin. You will be happier with it. It will be more concise. You won't have like this weird shelf that can only hold 9 games on it because they're all the weird big box versions. And it's like, man, wouldn't it be nicer if I just had one shelf with like 40 games on it and they were all just like nice consistent versions in the regular packaging rather than these stupid big boxes that include stickers and a pin? I give you guys permission. Buy the regular releases.
Oh, and that version of the game you were talking about is it's Toplan's Arcade Garage that bundled together Zero Wing and Hellfire. And then also later included Horror Story.
Later included Horror Story?
As a download, yeah.
What's Horror Story?
Horror Story is like kind of like a side-scrolling shooter, but you're a little guy. You've never heard of Horror Story?
I might have if you showed me it, but no, I don't think so.
I thought maybe we didn't talk about it. I thought we talked about it on a Halloween episode. It's like a turbo game. From, not a PC Engine game, I should say. It's interesting. I also think in the arcade, it's like budget Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah, all right. I remember you showed me this at some point.
Yeah.
But no, I never played it.
Okay. Anyways, that's that. So how do you feel about this one? Bad, good? Depending on...
The Tiger Heli thing? Like, I probably bad, because I bet they're not including the DLC, and I don't like just including 2 random games in the same compilation.
Okay.
And you know what? Let me just get ahead of it. Someone's going to say like, oh, they're not two random games. You don't know that Zero Wing and Hellfire actually take place in the same universe. I don't care. Whatever reason they're including them in the same compilation as opposed to all the other shooters they could include, give me individual releases. All right, I've said it enough. Yes. Johnny, let's move on to something else, because that's very similar to Cosmic Fantasy.
All right, so this one is a little bit different, and I'm curious if you're going to like this one. Do you remember Felix the Cat?
Wow, Johnny, you might say that's an R6 NES game. Probably a rare Game Boy game, too.
Probably bigger than R6.
I always think it might be an R7, Johnny?
R7, maybe. Like, I don't think I always felt like Felix was harder to find than people gave it credit for.
All right, I'm looking up the official, the Fleo NES rating, because I'm calling it right now, the Fleo Joe, as you might know him on the show. He has made the official rarity guide for Nintendo now, because he's actually doing the work and looking all this stupid crap up. I can't find it. I'm sorry, Joe. Where did you post it? I can't find it.
Well, like now I'm looking at eBay. There's a lot more copies than I thought. So yeah, maybe
you're getting R6'd, baby.
Yeah, you are getting R6'd. Anyways, they released this, or it's not even released yet, coming out soon, for the PS4, PS5, or the Switch. It includes the original game for the NES, and that's pretty much it. How do you feel about this? Because this isn't a bunch of the other stuff. It's not even like, hey, it's just Felix the Cat.
Yep, this is very much one of those, who is it for releases? Someone is doing this. They know that they can get like the licensed games for some reason, like Three Stooges and Felix. You're not getting those from like whatever publisher published those games probably. It's just that whoever has the Felix the Cat license probably owns the rights to the video game. And that's someone that's like a real media publisher they can actually go get rights from. But yeah, that seems very much like we're releasing this because we can. Which, like, I guess it's not like I should be against that stuff, but like in 2024, there's no reason to buy it. Like, I can understand that sometime in the far-flung future, maybe the price for original Felix the Cat just gets too expensive or it's too rare, and there needs to be a legitimate way. Everyone's going to pirate it, but for the people who don't want to just pirate it, there could be a legitimate way to buy it. But like 2024 is not that time. And I don't care what a Felix the Cat, I don't care if there's like a $400 complete in box. You could get a cartridge of Felix the Cat and go play it. Anyone can do that if you really wanted to.
You said if it was just like the single release and this is the definitive way you could now play Felix, you'd be more into it.
I mean, it's not the definitive way to play Felix, though. It's the same way.
Okay. Well, this one, it says something about the carbon engine, and I don't know what that means. So someone will have to tell me.
Is that like the Mega Man engine they used to make Felix the Cat?
Maybe. Felix the Cat returns to his greatest adventure with a little carbon engine magic, whatever that means.
Oh, I bet that's just part of the Felix the Cat story. I don't know.
I have no idea. And also they, but that's not all that we have in our bag of tricks. Check out our Felix the Cat merchandise line, which includes a t-shirt, keychain, and a set of trading cards to commemorate his latest carbon engine release. That must be a thing. It must be a thing in the line.
I found it, Johnny. Felix the Cat is indeed an R6. And it's a $60 cartridge and $300 complete in box. And it's like, yeah, you are saving money by buying the re-release, but just save up for a real... You do not want Felix the Cat. If you are looking at the limited run games release of Felix the Cat and you're considering buying it, that is not a game that you were actually considering. You were not like, oh, I want Felix the Cat, but it's $300. You are looking at the limited run games thing and being like, it's $250 off. That's a deal. But you never wanted Felix the Cat to begin with. If you're going to spend $60 on something, go spend $60 on something you actually wanted.
Well,
and if you really wanted Felix the Cat, just save up the $300 for the real one. Yes, $300 is expensive, but that's 5 stupid re-releases of Felix the Cat that you just don't buy. I think I might be getting a little bit too much like, why is Gen Z buying so many $5 coffees every day? But I do think there are people who buy like a significant number of these, like 1 or 2 of these limited run things every month, and that stuff adds up. All these little $30 to $60 games you buy, it adds up into a very collectible video game.
But
track every video game you purchase in a spreadsheet. Like, so first of all, the act of doing that will make you spend less, because you'll be like, oh man, if I buy this, I have to put this $20 purchase in my spreadsheet, and then I look like an asshole. But track it, and you'll do it after like 3 months. You'll be like, oh fuck, I could have bought something amazing. Like I spent like $900. I could have bought an Eliminate Down on the Mega Drive.
Sure could have.
And I got all this garbage instead. What am I doing with my collecting life?
Have you ever watched any Felix the Cat?
I feel like I have, but I don't know why. There might have been something on Cartoon Network. I don't think it was an original. It might have been like a 2000s series.
I feel like they like maybe released something in like the 2000s, like late 90s or something for Felix the Cat. Maybe there was like an 80s one, but I feel like this is a property much like a Betty Boop that is like well past its prime.
I mean, oh yeah, it definitely is. Is Felix the Cat like not public domain like Mickey Mouse is at this point?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, Felix the Cat is, I mean, it's interesting animation. Like if you watch old Felix the Cats, it's like pretty cool. I like it, but I don't know who it's for. I don't understand this release. It just seems like, oh, we're working with them now, and we can just, this is one of the games we can try to recoup some of the money we spent on this license for. And it's easy.
Johnny, my childhood cat was named Felix.
Oh yeah?
It's good cat.
I think a lot of cats got named Felix.
I know. The damn 100-year-old properties. I bet a lot of mice are named Mickey.
I'm sure. Anyways, and that was announced very near the announcement of Rocket Knight Resparked. We are both people who really like Rocket Knight and Sparkster. We do. We like them a lot. On the Super Nintendo version, the Genesis version, both Genesis versions, I should say. We like these games. We have championed them, said it's great. How are you feeling about this Resparked edition, which includes all 3 games?
I mean, so they're getting me here. So this is like, you are like, you're limited run games here, and you're like, oh, Tyler's saying that we're not including all the games in one thing, so here it is. We gonna criticize us for that?
And it's like cross-platform, like they took games that were across platforms and put them all into one easy way to play it.
All right, so for one, let's just be critical. For one, they call it Rocket Knight Resparked, which sounds like an HD remaster, and it absolutely isn't. It's just the game. It is not. Which, in my opinion, is better, because I don't want HD remasters. I think playing the original games is way more interesting. Yes, this is every Rocket Knight game in one, so like, okay. It's the compilation. It's not the Walmart budget bin compilation. It's a good compilation. But then at the same time, they're all just games you can get. And I realize I'm going to say that for everything, but so with the shooters, with the arcade game compilations, or like with the shooters, if you have every Tiger Heli, and I'm talking both the arcade version and console port, the arcade thing isn't really something that's reasonable to own. Like, no one is going to actually own a Tiger Heli arcade cabinet. Or like, yes, the weird shooter people will have like their collection of PCBs. You're not a weird shooter person. It doesn't count. So the arcade stuff is a lot more interesting than just the console re-releases. I don't hate it because it does include everything, but I would just buy a copy of Rocket Knight Adventures because that's the one that I know there's Sparkster fans, but like that's the one that is more recognizable and looks cooler on a shelf. So I don't want to reduce Rocket Knight to just, oh, that's a cool collector piece that looks cool on a shelf. But having just a Rocket Knight Adventures will be cooler than having Rocket Knight Resparked.
Yeah. If you just want to play them, sure. But if this is the idea of this is as a collector, and which is where we are coming from on this show, yeah, I agree with you. And Rocket Knight isn't that expensive. Also, I have a problem with the way they like listed their copy for this game. They're like, a rad rat. He's not a rat. He's a possum. A rad rat with a rocket strapped to his back. The pacey possum is back to defend his kingdom. The pacey possum? As a possum who sets pace? Yeah, is it the possum who sets pace, or is his name Pacey? His name is Sparkster. I don't know what they're trying to say here. It was, it's confusing. But I do like that they're all there. So this I could understand. I could understand it if you bought it. I could understand it.
I realize Rocket Knight's not that rare, but like $70 for like an all-timer on the Sega Genesis. Like, just get a copy of Rocket Knight.
Yeah.
And once you have that, you're gonna feel better than everyone who owns the Switch re-release. So like, are people buying? If someone buys the Rocket Knight thing, are they legitimately playing through all 3 Rocket Knight games? I feel like I've never done that with any compilation I bought. Like, I'll buy some compilation and then I'll play like one of the games. So if you're only going to play through Rocket Knight Adventures, or if it's just a shelf piece, just get Rocket Knight Adventures.
Well, that's why I said that's like I'm not talking about the people who want to play it, because I think there are some amount of people, and not even a small amount necessarily, that are going to see this and be like, "Oh man, I always wanted to try like Sparkster and Rocket Knight." And they may not even have like old hardware in which to go do these things. And they're like, oh, and they're not, they're not people, because we can easily say, just go play the ROM, go play the ROM. But there's so many people who are not just going to go play the ROM, or they're not interested in anything like that. They're just like, oh, if there's a release, they're going to go play it. Like, sure. Cool. I can get why you went and bought this, and yeah, they're probably going to check it out. And you know what? Great, because unlike Felix the Cat, which is fine, like, Rocket Knight is a cool series, and I would love it for it to get more attention. So I'm kind of just like on board because I want people to play Rocket Knight.
All right.
But if you're collecting it, yeah, 100%. If it's just a shelf piece to you when you're a collector and you don't just own Rocket Knight, go buy Rocket Knight before you spend your money on this. Spend your money on a copy of Rocket Knight.
All right. Cosmic Fantasy. I realized new translations. We're putting that in Walmart dollar bin. Ultimate Tiger Heli. I like the idea. I like arcade re-releases. I think that's more valuable, but because it's just I'm skeptical in the DLC. Maybe Walmart dollar bin on that. Felix the Cat is pointless out of 10. Rocket Knight, I'm gonna call fine. We're gonna give that one a fine. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's fine. Let's keep going.
All right. Here's 2 games that we can just put together, and these ones, this is a kind of a different category, Tyler, because these ones got like Switch releases, like, hey, you want to play this game? Here, you can try it on the Switch now. But they also just released cart versions of it in like the classic style Super Nintendo and Genesis boxes. Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but also I'm including Ghoul Patrol in this because they also had that available.
Johnny, the Zombies Ate My Neighbors and the limited edition included both games in one box.
Okay. Well, there's individual boxes for each one too.
Yes, and that comes back to like the Walmart $5 bin. It's like, why are these 2 games? Why are you making the limited edition like the compilation? Compilations imply value, not importance.
But they did have individual like big boxes.
They had multiple. They had the premium editions of each of these games individually, but then the limited edition was both of them in one box. It's out of control.
Yeah, this one was also like their convention releases for a while. So the hard to find Zombies Ate My Neighbors box was suddenly a convention exclusive. Then that like didn't sell very well because remember their Black Friday sale was like, oh, you can buy this. But then it actually went on their super sale, which they had so much plethora of it that they were dealing it for 40% off at one point. So if you missed out on that, sorry. You could have got it if this was something you wanted. I don't understand this at all. I don't understand. This is where I get mad, Tyler. Who the fuck is this for? Like, fine, play the Switch. Who are these cart versions for? It's not... Zombies Ate My Neighbor isn't that expensive. Ghoul Patrol is not that expensive. Who is this? Why? And like, why are you putting it in the rare fucking box? Why are you printing that art out? Like, what? You're just making the thing that was special less special. I don't... It's like... Are you just... Your collector brain's going wild, being like, oh shit, I can get that art now. I'm a collector. Just what the fuck is this garbage? Just stop it. And just like random cart colors and
this would be the same thing as Felix the Cat for me, where it's like it's okay, you released it, but who cares? Because nobody was chomping at the bit to own a re-release of Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but because it existed, they tricked you into thinking it's a good deal or an exciting limited thing to want it, and it just turns it into like this completely pointless thing. Is like you didn't actually want this. This is just something that appeared in your feed one day, and you're like, oh, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, I love that game. But if you loved it enough, you just owned a damn copy of it. The thing that really gets me, I mean, I don't know if they have cut this down, how many editions of this game there are.
Dude, there's so many.
Even if you make more than one edition and you're like this limited run games company, like such as limited run games, if you have like the version and then the stupid big box version, personally, I like the version that fits on my shelf with all my other games more than I like the limited edition big box that includes stickers. But I feel like if, let's say this is something I love, they re-release Ninja Gaiden 3. Even then, I would call it pointless. But let's just, for sake of argument, do I buy the one that's shaped as a Nintendo box, or do I buy the limited run games big box edition that includes the pack of stickers? I like the Nintendo box more, but it feels like, shouldn't the one that's more expensive be more collectible? And I go back and forth, like, which one do I buy? Like, I shouldn't have to think about which version is the best version. And I feel like a lot of these times they include multiple versions. I'm always thinking about, well, which one's actually better? Because the big box sure doesn't seem like it's actually better, even though it's more expensive. But then you get into Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and there is the Switch version of Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol, the limited edition Switch Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol. Same thing on PS4. There's the Zombies Ate My Neighbors actual Genesis re-release. There's the Zombies Ate My Neighbors Premium Edition Genesis re-release, which is a big box with a green cart. There's the SNES release. There's the SNES big box with the green cart. There's Ghoul Patrol, and then Ghoul Patrol Premium comes in a red cartridge. There's the Switch event exclusive, which has the rare box art. There's the SNES event exclusive. That's the third SNES box art of the same cartridge being re-released again. What the fuck? And then there's the event exclusive Zombies Ate My Neighbor Ghoul Patrol on PS4. Like, what the fuck? Why are there so many versions? No, none of these are the good version to have, and you're not going to buy the $500 bundle with all of them because that's fucking stupid. What kind of consumerism nonsense is it to buy the same game 6 times just because you don't know which version is the good version to have?
It does. It's very intentionally confusing, and I fucking hate this. And again, even the ones with Ghoul Patrol in it, they like put it on the rare like box art and then like just squeeze that Ghoul Patrol logo in there like haphazardly. God, I fucking hate this. And they've done this with so many games now. I just like, man, they like Monkey Island, Maniac Mansion. What's the super dumb Game Boy Color game they did? Extreme Sports. What the fuck? Just, I don't understand who these releases for. I fucking hate this. I hate this so much because I'm just. But Zombies Ate My Neighbor and Ghoul Patrol, they do take the cake on like most dumb, pointless editions, except for Night Trap. Night Trap has gone so far around that like I think Night Trap is hilarious, but this isn't hilarious because like the Night Trap ones were kind of doled out over like a long span, right? But these ones all came out at like the same time. They're just like, here you go, figure it out. We did 15 versions. Which one is going to be good for you? Because you're collectors and that's who we're appealing to.
I think the event exclusives came out after the initial batch of a bunch of versions. And I think everyone knows this by now, but limited run games event exclusives are 100% scams. So they bring them to PAX or whatever. They call them the PAX exclusive. And then the next like event they go to, they say like, oh, hey, we have the PAX exclusives over here. And then at the limited run games store, when they have like their flea markets and stuff, they're like, oh, hey, guess what? We have the event exclusives. And then Black Friday comes around and they're like, yo, guess what? You have a chance to get the event exclusives. Dude, if it was for sale 5 times, it's not a PAX exclusive. It's just another version of the game that you made. I'm saying that I got scammed into buying, there were 2 Shantae. I don't even know what games it was probably Shantae and like one of the Switch Shantaes. And they had like these square boxes and they were like, God, these are the event exclusives. You got to get these before they sell out. They just have them. They were up sale on Black Friday. It's not an event exclusive. I got scammed. This was like 2 years ago I bought this, and they're still not sold out of them.
Yep. Like, man, Limited Run just has so many games that are very confusing. Like they did all the LucasArts stuff and just man, it's just the world's biggest publisher of games, and they're just publishing everything they can.
I think, anyways, all right, like Ghoul Patrol's a real, like, you know what? Who needs the re-release of that? Like, even Zombies Ate My Neighbors. But if you were going to re-release these, I think it's fine to have one version on each platform. Forget the bundle. Bundle's the Walmart $5 bin problem. One version on each platform. None of these, like, you spend an extra $15 to get a red Super Nintendo cartridge. You know what? If it's important enough to re-release Ghoul Patrol, just make the red SNES cartridge. It literally costs you the same amount of money to make both. You can't pretend that making a gray versus a red cartridge is somehow different. Just if it's the re-release, if it's the special collector's edition re-release, it should be like vinyl, and you just have like, oh, this one comes in green. If do that, don't charge a $15 premium and make two versions for no reason. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but vinyl does do it all the time. They like have so many, like 5 different colorways.
Does it cost more to buy like the color you want?
Sometimes.
All right, vinyl's stupid too. It's ridiculous.
Some companies are like, well, they do like, oh, the red and blue splatter, there was only 1,000 of them, but the green splatter they made 5,000 of. So.
All right, so I don't know anything about properties of materials, but I see those fancy edition like vinyl pressings, especially the ones with like different colors that are molded together, and I'm like, the surface of that it can't be 100% as good as like an all black vinyl surface. Am I just overthinking it, or are there people who are like, oh, I only collect the black ones because that's actually the best color for it?
So it's funny you say that, Tyler, because that is like a big debate amongst vinyl collectors. Oh, well, like, because the colorways are clearly more collectible. People eat that shit up. They eat up the colors. The black vinyls of like modern shit always go for less. And people will say that the color versions sound worse. Now people are saying, oh, they've gotten really good at pressing colored vinyl, so now it like sounds good. But picture discs, still like 100%. People are like, I bought it because it's got a cool picture, but it doesn't sound great.
I mean, all right, I'm kind of on board with them anyway, because you know what? Vinyl doesn't sound great. So, you might as well get the one that sounds a little bit shittier anyway, because records don't sound good.
Buy the
Got him.
One.
Bam.
Yeah, you did it.
Suck it, record people.
Man, buy the coolest version. That's reasonable. I buy whatever one I'm like, hey, I like the way that color looks. I'm not buying the black one. That's boring as shit. I don't care if it sounds a little better. Johnny, that's not why I'm here.
You know what the coolest version of Black Sabbath Paranoid is? It's the one from like 1980.
No, Tyler.
1970? I don't know. I get mixed up when it comes to really old music.
It's from the 70s.
Okay.
1980, Jesus Christ.
Tyler, they like practically invented the heavy metal genre, and you're going to say it's from the 80s? Please, your favorite band, Iron Maiden, already existed by then.
Yeah, kind of. Do you want to act like you not knowing that isn't like dumb? Like, oh yeah, it's just us old people. Never mind. We don't need to get into this. Anyways, yeah.
An original Paranoid, it's like $40. Just go get the original. What do we need this re-release for? Just go get the original. Come on.
So here's like, not that we need to talk about vinyl, but here's the thing, like all the stuff that's like from the 70s and like early 80s, vinyl was the format. So they printed millions of them, right? Or a lot, so much that you could just go get like an older copy of it. It's just not that hard.
I am so sorry to tell everyone listening to this podcast, whether you collect trading cards or comic books or records or video games, they made so much. We collect mass-produced things. They made so much of everything.
Yes. 100%.
So the fact that they made a lot of Black Sabbath Paranoid, that's great. That means you could go get the real thing, the actual real. You probably get a first print or something, and maybe it's a little more expensive for that. But wouldn't it be so cool, even if they made 100 million of them, to own like Black Sabbath Paranoid, the real 1970 edition?
Yeah, probably.
It would be really cool.
Yeah, probably.
Rarity sucks. Just go get the real shit.
Don't worry. When I start my vinyl collecting podcast, Tyler, I'll have all this kind of info for you.
Okay. Are you gonna? Is this gonna be a crossover with LJN? Those guys like records.
Yeah. Yep. Someone's gonna have to help me. I'm gonna need help, but I only want to talk about horror soundtracks, and no one wants to talk to me about that. You can find me on the Wax Files. That's the name of the podcast.
That's a terrible name.
That's a great name.
Is that that's probably a real podcast though?
No, I made that up.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm proud of you. Good job.
Thanks. No, you already said you hate it. It's too late. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's shit on some more games and shit people.
I'm not shitting on all of them. I mean, like, people are gonna say we're gatekeeping literally everything. I do think that these are a poorer value than buying vintage video games. But I'm Rocket Knight is fine. I'm okay with Rocket Knight.
So here is another new category of these type of releases, and this is our last category of them. This is Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. This is just a release of the cart and the box for the Super Nintendo and for the Genesis. There's just like a republishing of the Super Nintendo and the Genesis game.
Okay, so, I mean, this isn't really a new category because Zombies is the same thing. I feel like...
No, because Zombies had both. They had the Switch version too. This is just... There's no... You can go play Zombie or Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel on the Switch. That's not available. This is only a Super Nintendo cart. This is like, a licensed re-release.
I feel like there's a little bit of they learned their... they probably didn't learn their lesson from Zombies Ate My Neighbors. They just knew they could milk that one a lot more. But it is nice that there is just the regular release. There's one SNES and there's one Genesis, and they didn't even do the stupid cartridge thing. You get the cartridge and it's two-tone. The back is red, the front is gray. That's stupid, but you know what? I'm happy they decided not to just do the two different releases.
So... How are you feeling about this one?
This falls into like you did not want a copy of Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, so why are you going to spend $65 for a reissue of Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel? The only reason that you think you want this is because Zero is an expensive Super Nintendo game, and your brain does the math of, like, what does a Zero cost? $400? That's totally spitballing.
Like $900 on Super
Okay, so even more. So your brain goes, $900 minus $65 is whatever, 800 and something. I can't believe I can't do that math. It's late. But yeah, you're saying I'm getting $800 off this game, so it is a good deal. But no, you are spending $70 on a game you never wanted to begin with.
Hold on.
All right.
Let me
Sell me.
Since this is a licensed re-release, does it count in your set?
So this is an interesting question you posed, Johnny. The more interesting thing to me actually isn't this release. It's stuff like Eliminate Down, because most people, when they talk about the Genesis set, they don't actually talk about licensed and unlicensed. It's just everything. So shouldn't Eliminate Down count for the Sega Genesis set? And stuff like that makes me want to buy Eliminate Down. But you know what? Forget it. I have Discipline. I don't even own every 32X game, and that's part of the Sega Genesis set. So forget that.
I already said I'm fine with people buying Eliminate Down. I get the appeal of Eliminate Down. It's the first US release of it, or North American release. I get it. Go ahead.
In a to the letter sense, like licensed re-release, it's the same as a reprinted comic book. And if you want to have, 700 Sega Genesis games, but your copy of Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel is the limited run edition, sure. But who the heck is going to do that? Like, yes, in some technical sense, you would say like, yeah, this counts. It's a legitimate reissue of the game. But like, you're gonna buy 700 games and have like this one limited run games copy. Like, no one is gonna do that. It comes down to like, yeah, like whether stuff counts is so stupid, Johnny. It's such a stupid idea. Like, obviously this doesn't belong in the set, even if like you could argue from technically, let me tell you about copyright and rights holders and licensing, why this actually counts over a vintage copy of the game.
Tyler, does it count?
It depends for what set. What set? What? Give me your.
Give me the box that I've created.
So, all right, here's.
You know me. I like the life of the console, or you could just be at it forever. I put a parameter that says life of the console, and this would be a re-release outside of that. Sure, but like you said, if you bought the rest of the Super Nintendo collection, clearly the $900 is not that big of a barrier. You're just like, this is you shortcutting in the worst possible way. You're just like, oh, forget it. It's like, you've already come this far, guy. Like, you might as well just go all the way. But it's hard for me to say it doesn't count.
I mean, I think
but there is no Nintendo seal of quality on it.
So the problem is, I agree that kind of the default set is lifetime of the console. And by the way, I have tried to strictly define what the lifetime of a console is. And I've come up with all these rules, like if there's a gap of 2 years with no physical releases, then the set is officially over. And then freaking consoles like the Wii U come along and they're like, oh, yeah, that console from 7 years ago. Yeah, we're gonna put another game on that, by the way. Oh, it's called Hawaii something. Shakedown Hawaii. Yeah. So whenever you try to make hard and fast rules, these publishers are here to crap all over them.
I think that's been 2 years now.
So I feel like if you are making a set of games from the lifetime of the console, like including this aftermarket release as a substitute for the game that came out during the lifetime of the console release, that obviously feels like a shortcut. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. And again, when you get into things like full set collecting, like you are spending so much money already that like, why are you taking shortcuts?
So here's my biggest beef with Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel's release. It says Forever Physical on the cart and on the box. It's like, clearly, like, can Limited Run just please fucking drop this slogan, Forever Physical? What the fuck does that even mean at this point? It used to mean, oh, like games that didn't get a physical release. We make sure that these games do get a release and they survive forever. Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, it fucking exists. In fact, it exists on 2 consoles. It's out there. We don't need a physical re-release of this fucking game. It is already here. Stop fucking putting this on your carts. It's stupid. It is patently false. Just fucking knock this shit off. I don't care that this is what you're doing. Just stop lying about it. Stop the bullshit. I fucking hate it. Is that wrong? Is it wrong to hate this? Am I too over the moon about this?
I have no problem with their slogan of Forever Physical. I think it's a catchy marketing slogan for a game.
But it's bullshit. It's not even what they're doing anymore. The people, they were bought out by another company. This is just retaining bullshit. Do the people who print this on the box even know what the fuck that was supposed to mean?
I don't remember this era where they were only going to take digital games and re-release them physically.
That was their tenet. That's when they came out. That was their fucking point.
Well, I know like their first game was their game, right? And they wanted to produce it physically, but yeah, I guess I don't remember the early days that much. I was just too busy buying anything because it was
the whole tenet of them was like, oh, what we're going to do is make sure these digital games that never got released, that they're not lost to time. So we're going out and we're finding these cool digital games that never had physical releases and bringing them to the masses. That was what their stated objective was.
I mean, yeah, but literally their stated objective was also quote unquote limited run games, which and now they're the biggest Twitch publisher in terms of quantity. So
I agree. And then part of that, their slogan for that was Forever Physical.
Yeah, but you know what? Forever Physical is catchy and Limited Run is catchy. So like these are just good marketing tactics.
Sure. I guess Forever Physical could also stand to mean like we're forever making physical games and never just bowing to only digital stuff. But like this, you didn't do anything here. You didn't like, oh, Forever Physical. Aren't you glad we came along and made sure that Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel exists still? You're never going to miss that one. It's like, hey, fuckos. They made a butt ton of them because it was on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. You didn't help anybody. You objectively made the most limited version of it here, right?
Oh, like so you're saying it's the most collectible version?
Yeah, absolutely. You should. This is the one you should go buy. If they published more of these than Nintendo and Sega did, then like, holy shit, they're making a lot of games.
I mean, they're definitely not. Because to go with the magic number, that means nothing. But they definitely made 10,000 copies of Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. Maybe they're making more than like it will ever exist in the secondhand market. Like every time you search for Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, you're always going to find 10 of these now and 2 of the real one. But there's no way they're beating the original production numbers for these games.
No, well, and you brought up a point which I also hate. Like now, forever, when you search for this game, if you were trying to buy this bullshit version is going to muck up the results.
I think, I mean, that sucks, but it's the same thing if you wanted to buy an Amazing Fantasy 15, like you're going to have to sort through like reprints and stuff. It's just something got to deal with.
Do you enjoy that?
I mean, no, I don't enjoy that, but
okay.
Limited Run doesn't care.
No. It's like also, this was also, I mean, it was released in multiple territories. This wasn't like a US exclusive game. Like this was released pretty much everywhere it could be released, right? Maybe, I don't know if it was released in Japan, but it was definitely in Europe and the US.
So I've never played Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. I don't know why we're still talking about this, but I've never played it. But do people like it? Like people like Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Is Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel a well-received game? Is it a hidden gem, Johnny? Or is it just a uncommonish rare game that they're like, oh, well, like, is this the only reason for this to exist is to be a placeholder for a game you never wanted to begin with?
No, so it's more than that because it's part of a franchise. It's part of the Arrow the Acrobat series.
Yeah, but Johnny, come on. Like, who cares?
Well, I'm just saying, like that got 2 games, so it's more than that. I think it was received appropriately. Like, it wasn't a terrible game. I think it was like a 7 out of 10, maybe 7.5 out of 10. Like, I played. But
people weren't chomping at the bit to be like, oh damn, we need Zero release. Like, what's a game? I'm thinking, what's that Mega Drive game? And this is totally a 6 out of 10 game, but people pretend it's not. Pulse Man. Like, if they got Pulse Man and re-released it, people would be like, oh shit, Pulse Man, an exciting exclusive Mega Drive game that, like, that's something I've always wanted to play. No one in the history of ever has said, like, one day I really want to get around to playing Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel on the Sega Genesis.
Probably true.
And, you know, that's different again, because that's one of those import first time released in the US. Like, if they released Pulse, did they release Pulse Man? Am I crazy? Is this a thing that already exists?
No, I don't think it's ever been released in the US.
Okay. I really like those first time releases in the US stuff. I'm not going to say like buy them all, that they're going to be collectible or, you know, count for the set or be like, you know, like all this stuff. But I think that's really valuable. That feels like that's the closest to like Synapse Films, Vinegar Syndrome releases where like they got something cool. They got the rights to something cool and they're putting out a good version of it, like the original thing on the original hardware, which is for video games the best possible version of it. And like, who cares? Like for Holy Diver, like, yeah, they're gonna put like stickers and pins in the box because video game collectors are stupid. But I still think those are valuable, really cool releases.
Okay.
And I mean, that's gonna be the only thing I really like out of any of these.
Okay, fine. Also, just because I looked it up. Yeah, I don't see a Japanese release for this, but this is going by the Wikipedia page, which also says that the Super Nintendo did not get an EU release of that. So,
a Japanese release of what?
Of Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. So, like, I think this is like a US and European. So,
it's kind of a racist game to be released in Japan. It would be like,
that's true.
Like Dumbo, the gun-toting elephant or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, now that you bring that up, yeah, probably why it didn't, or if it did, it definitely had probably a name change. Anyways, let's go on. We have so many more games on this list to kind of go through. So, much in the same vein as Zero, we have Zombie Nation. You familiar with Zombie Nation for the NES? Hey, this is a game that's expensive. You want it? You want it on the cheap?
I mean, like, I could judge these games individually. One, like, 100% pointless release. If you are the guy who was like, oh, man, Zombie Nation, that game is so weird and cool, like, just get a copy of Zombie Nation, obviously. I think it's a lot more interesting than Zero, just because of how weird Zombie Nation is. It feels like it's falling into that cult horror re-release type thing, where it's like, they're digging through the archives and finding the weirdest shit for you to buy again. And no, you shouldn't buy it because you only want it because they're showing you a cool thing that you know is rare and interesting. But I don't know. It's not the worst one of these. It's not Felix the Cat. Zombie Nation. Why not?
It does. I'm sorry. It does have a Switch release. I just saw that. I didn't realize it had a Switch release. So this version though is giving you both the Japanese version of this game, Abarano a Brenbo, Tengu, and Zombie Nation. Which,
yeah, you totally got that right, by the way. That was how you pronounce it.
I fucking 100% did not. Yeah, totally butchered that. Anyways, what it does, though, is because the games were slightly different, it has slightly different mechanic. So both of them are on there. But yeah, there's just like a red Nintendo cartridge for it and like a Switch copy. I don't understand this one. It's like no one loved this game, I don't think. This wasn't a game that people were super after. But if you want this copy from Strictly Limited Games, it's limited to 400 copies, guys. So jump on that fast.
Is it really limited to 400 copies?
That version of it is the bundle with the cart and the big version. Yeah, it's the PAL version is 400. Let's see, the 600 copies for NTSC. Just the Switch copy is limited to 1,500. So yeah, this is Strictly Limited. They've got not much, and it's already got a low stock alert on there.
Whoa, low stock alert.
For the collector's edition.
Oh, okay. This comes with like a stupid mask, like a mask on a stand, like vinyl mass-produced garbage for you to call collectible. Like, oh yeah, I totally display all the statues I get with my edition. I
love this game so much that I wanted this mask to put on my shelf and not figure out how to keep it in the box. Yeah. I dislike this. I dislike this because this is just, I don't know who this is for. But I do like that it's like a different colorway and they did like severely limit the amount of copies available.
I mean, they severely limited it because they know there's not 4,000 people who are going to buy Zombie Nation on NES. That's just not a thing.
Yeah, and it is just an expensive NES game. That was like, what was that, like an R8 or something back in the day?
Yeah. Yeah, the Zombie Nation is definitely towards the top of NES. I don't know how much of that is it being an interesting shooter, but I think it's also an uncommon rare game because it's an interesting out there shooter.
Yeah. Oh, man. Right now, caught people asking for just the carton box $1,500.
Wow.
Cart only $1,800.
Cart only is not $1,800, Johnny.
No, I said $800.
Oh, okay.
$800. $1,500 for the carton box, and then someone asking $1,900 for a CIB copy. And then some people asking for as much as $4,000. Like the $1,800 copy, there's a big gulf between that and all the next copies, which are all closer to $5,000. So that one, it might be a deal.
Hey guys, I'm talking to the NES set collectors right now, and I'm sorry. I know you've probably started on this journey many, many years ago, and maybe you're approaching the end, and it's time to buy Zombie Nation, and someone wants $2,500 for it. There's a lot of good video games you could buy for $2,500 instead of Zombie Nation. And I'm not saying Zombie Nation is a bad video game to buy or an uncollectible video game to buy, because Zombie Nation is a really cool video game to buy. But for $2,500, you could buy a lot of cool video games. One might even say you could buy Super Mario Brothers, which is the most expensive game of all time, for like $300 for like a really nice hang tab copy, probably.
So what you could do is you could just go buy like this $85 copy, right? And then have a Switch cart and have a Nintendo copy, right? It doesn't come with the box, but you'd have the cart.
I mean,
you've done it.
So
you've done it if you buy the Strictly Limited Games version of it.
They will eventually sell out of this. Like 600 is a low enough number that I have to imagine people will just see 600 and NES next to each other, and they'll just buy them, whether it's speculation or from people who just think it's cool. This is where I get into like you saying, are we just gatekeeping? Is this just, are we the old men and we don't understand the people collecting this stuff? Because, I mean, because they will sell out of these 600, like, there are people who want to collect this stuff. And we don't see it, I guess. We're not on board.
We aren't.
We're the bad people. I'm sorry we think that the probably $100 you spent for Zombie Nation after, oh, I'm sorry, it's over $100. It's over $100 to begin with. So probably the $120 you spent on Zombie Nation. We think in terms of putting value into your collection could have been spent better elsewhere.
See, there is just a lone Switch copy for $35. And if you just want to play this, like I'm cool with picking up that version. Like, yeah, go pick up the Switch copy. That's fine. Sure.
And they did do the thing where it is like the definitive Zombie Nation because they include both the NES and Japanese version. So hey.
Yep.
All right, I'm in.
All right.
Not
okay,
that
we're in.
But I'm a little bit in.
Yeah, we're not all the way in, but we're not completely down on this. All right. Cool. We talked about Eliminate Down already, but this was from Retrobit. They also did a whole thing, and we talked a little bit about this. This is a thing where they are picking games, and I want to see. Oh, there's one I'm going to leave out, or two I'm going to leave out, and you tell me how you feel about the rest of these. Okay. Soldice, El Viento, Battletoads versus Double Dragons, multiple Valis games, and then Cybernator, which is listed as Assault Suit Valken. But they released all of these, just this, not Switch releases or anything. It's just card onlys for these. How do you feel about these ones?
Cart only? What do you mean?
Or not cart and box only. So it's not like a Switch release. This is just like they've re-released it, and you can go play these on the Genesis or the Super Nintendo, whichever system that they were originally released for.
I mean, all right. I like the Battletoads versus Double Dragon. That feels like such a we could get the license for this stuff, but like Valis collection, like who actually cares about Valis? But
lots of people.
I mean, like Glaylancer. I don't know.
No, I wasn't bringing that one up because that Glaylancer is different. So
yeah, that's why I like it.
Yeah.
John, if it's just a re-release, who cares? Unless there's a regional thing. So here's the thing: if it's an expensive video game, then you're not going to be happy with the placeholder. It's going to look like the weird placeholder. If they came out with stadium events, limited run game stadium events, and charged $100 for it, it's just a waste of $100. Like, it's not the collectible thing. It's pretend. And you don't want to play stadium events, so who cares? And if they came out with, say, the Rocket Knight Adventures, a real copy of Rocket Knight Adventures, like a nice complete in box with a registration card, is $70. So you can spend, $50 on the limited run games thing, or $70 for the fucking real thing. That's a vintage game. It's the real fucking thing. So whether it's a relatively affordable game or an expensive game, it never makes sense to buy the re-release.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like these are...
Here's my unless okay. It is something like genuinely you want to play. And here's my example. And I think you should probably buy this because it's the game. But Castlevania Rondo of Blood, that's like, what, $200, $250? A lot of people are not going to spend $250 to play a fucking PC Engine CD game and, like, figure out how to play that. That is just not something people are going to jump through hoops to do. So if limited run games... I think they probably did re-release this at some point in the Castlevania collection. But if they come out with the $50, $75 version of Rondo of Blood, and you just want to play it because you know it's one of the best Castlevania games, then yes, just go buy that version. That does make sense, even though I say, like, regardless of the price, the re-release is the bad thing to buy.
Well, when they do it, it'll be the first English version of it, so that'll give it some different appeal. Right.
Oh, they said they are re-releasing the PC Engine version of it, right?
They said they were. I don't know if that's officially ever come out.
Okay. I'm just realizing this. Was Soul Feast renamed to Soul Dees because Americans think feast sounds like feces?
No, Soul Dees is different than Soul Feast.
Are they not the same game?
They are not exactly the same game. So I forget what there is, like, a distinction. Like, I think it's... Maybe they were developed by the same people, but published differently because one was on the Sega CD.
Every time we get something wrong about Sega, I get really worried about Daddy Mulk's corrections. And
Daddy Mulk is just like, he's like, you're almost there, Johnny. You're like almost there. Come on, buddy. You can do it. I can feel him in the background.
Oh my God. I Googled it and one result says Soul Dees, also known as Soul Feast. And then there's a YouTube video, Soul Feast versus Soul Dees, the ultimate showdown. I wonder if that's just comparing the ports, though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Anyways, maybe they are both. Maybe they are different ports of the same game. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's a reason they are different. That's all I remember. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've been, like, down that rabbit hole. Anyways, let's get into the two that are different. How do you feel about Hammer and Harry? How you feel about that?
I don't care about it.
Do you know what Hammer and Harry is? Do you want to tell the people?
Hammer and Harry is an NES PAL exclusive, which, forget the game. The game doesn't matter. All you need to know is that it's a PAL exclusive, which is the only reason anyone ever knows or thinks about it.
Yes. Okay, so they released Hammer and Harry 1 and 2. And on NES cartridge, like in like a weird wooden cart. Like, is that cool? Like, you can have the official US release of this? I'm okay with that. Like, that's like kind of neat.
I don't know about the wooden cartridge, but sure.
Yeah. It just looks like wood grain.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah.
Oh, it's oak wood in parentheses.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I mean, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. It's like, okay. Like, it never came out here. I'm okay with these ones that didn't come out here. I don't like they give it like a stand. Here's the thing. For this is like fine because it was never released in the US. Battletoads versus Double Dragon, they did a NES port of this too. That one I don't understand because who cares? It's not, you can just go play the original. It's already been released. This little stand does nothing for me. Like this one, it's like, okay, well, this is the American copy of it if you only buy American stuff or US stuff, North American stuff, I should say. If you don't want to go buy the PAL one, okay, like fine. I don't necessarily agree with that, but like I see how we can get there. And they did the same thing for Glailancer, for the Genesis. Not ever released on US shores, so like that's cool. But again, I was a person who never bought things outside of our region, and I've recently, a couple years now, have like come around on buying more of this stuff, especially like PAL and Japanese stuff. I think it's cool to own them in their original states. These are the first US releases, sure, but yeah, I still like going back to the other stuff. But I'm willing to give this a fine. It's just fine, right, on both of these?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe even good. And I don't want to be just like, you can only buy the original Hammer and Harry, the Famicom version or whatever. It's the only one that really counts. Like, no, I think there is something to having the original US release or the only US release, even if it is this super late kind of reissue type thing. I think they're still cool. And I think that applies to all of these kind of import conversions. I'm not going to totally complain about any of them. And even the stuff that is like stupid, the Felix the Cats, I could go through these Blu-ray distributors, these film distributors, and look at like some of the absolute schlock trash horror movies that they were releasing and just say like, why did this need a 4K transfer that you're selling for $45 on sale for $30 for this movie that like had a budget of $20,000 and no one on planet Earth is even thinking about? But maybe it's someone's thing, and maybe someone doesn't want to watch it on YouTube. They want to watch the 4K transfer that they could buy legitimately from one of these companies. So even all these stupid, like, random re-release of these Battletoads versus Double Dragons, I'm not going to, like, 100% complain about them, because if these companies keep putting them out and they reach a critical mass, eventually there will be, like, kind of this marketplace. And I mean, this is maybe stupid because it's going to be all retro games that you could just buy anyway. But if they just put out like 1 billion of these and there's like 600 different games to choose from, everyone might have like their own pet game that they want to go buy the new version of. And it's not going to be freaking Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel or Felix the Cat, but maybe someone wants to, this is such a bad example, but like Contra, maybe someone wants to buy the re-release of Contra to just play it or to just have a version that's a reasonable price to buy. Even though we think as collectors, as gatekeeper collectors, like, dude, you should just go spend the $200 on a nice copy of Contra. It's freaking Contra.
See, but I don't necessarily feel that exactly. Like, fine, re-release it, but just make it on the Switch. If it's just a Switch copy of the game, cool, whatever. Yeah, like I keep saying, it's perfectly fine to just, like, they really released it so you can play it on the Switch. Like, that Felix the Cat, if it's just like the Switch game, like, okay, like if you really want to just play Felix the Cat, this is a perfectly good version to buy, especially if you don't care about collecting the old version. If you're like, man, that game is like kind of expensive, but I like kind of want to check it out. I like Felix. This is a great what a great tool to be able to do that. Especially like, I don't want to like try and figure out how to get my shit on a CRT and like what's a FrameMeister and what's RetroTink and how many wires. And I hope someone doesn't SCART on my games. Like, please don't do that. If you feel that way, then yeah. If you feel that way, yeah, this is a totally good version to buy. Great. I love this. I like, I'm for them re-releasing all the games and making them playable for people who are living in modern times. Great. But I don't need things like Battletoads versus Double Dragons in a green cart shell, because there's already plenty of them that you could go buy and play, and there more exist than people want to collect. So we didn't need this.
Johnny, I like Nintendo.
Me too.
I really don't like the Switch. I'm sorry. But I like collecting Nintendo games. I think everything should be Nintendo, Johnny. The thing with a 4K Blu-ray is that all these stupid companies releasing all these disparate films, from Point Break to Basket Case 17, they will just play in any 4K Blu-ray player. That is the best possible version that all of them could be. Probably these 4K Blu-ray transfers is better than owning a physical copy of the film, because your copy of the film is not going to be perfect. That is how good a 4K Blu-ray is. It's like the best thing. And in the future, like theoretically, there could be like 8K Blu-rays in the future that are seriously commercially sold. You don't even have an 8K TV. It doesn't matter. Like the original film grain, I think, for a lot of these movies is equivalent to about a 4K transfer, if I understand film correctly. So like, this is literally as good as it's ever going to get. It's future proof. It is the thing. If you have a 4K Blu-ray for that film, you have the thing. That's it. When you re-release a game on the Nintendo Switch in 5 years from now, it's going to be irrelevant. Unless the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, which, considering the popularity, I have to imagine it might be. But in 15 years, it's irrelevant. You're going to need another Felix the Cat re-release. And that's why it's a little bit bullshit to me that we have all these ports on Switch, but then we're going to have to re-release all this fucking shit again because video games aren't this universal thing like a 4K Blu-ray.
But that's the nature of media. Like, look, we had VHS, and then we got like fucking VCD releases and Laserdisc releases, and then we got DVD, and then we got HD.
But I mean, these have all converged. Like, if you buy music, like, all right, I mean, you don't buy music physically anymore, but you're going to buy a CD and not the fuck vinyl. If you want like the real high quality music, you buy a CD. If you want a real fucking high quality movie, you buy the 4K Blu-ray. There's on video games, look at us. We got the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Switch, the PS4, and then collector's editions of all of those for some of these games because there's so many different formats. And my biases might be showing there is a universal format that does not change going through the future, and it is personal computer put out a Microsoft Windows version. You will be able to play that version in 35 years because fucking Windows just keeps on existing.
No.
And I realize, no one collects PC games, so no one is going to be on board with that idea. Yeah. But then we're stuck in this cycle of every generation we're going to just re-release everything again, and the gaming is just going to be like this regurgitated thing where everything has to be re-released constantly over and over and over, and we have to get excited for, it's Final Fantasy 1 again for the 17th time.
Are you kidding me? They've barely released Final Fantasy ones. What a bad example.
The Pixel remaster, it's on GBA, it's on PlayStation.
Yeah, not enough. There wasn't a PS2 version. There wasn't a PS3 version. There wasn't a PS4 version.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
But I'm saying that's what movies did. Movies did that for like a 30-year span where they just kept like re-releasing them on the newest formats until we got to the end game, which I think now, I think you might be right, that 4K might be the end game, which brings up the question, Tyler, should we be collecting 4K Blu-rays now? Is that like, have we reached, like, we like media. Should we do it?
Johnny, I want to come back to that, but you are assuming that Switch is kind of the default platform.
I don't.
We have the PlayStation and we have the Xbox and we have PC, and theoretically we have portable shit too that no one cares about. And that's why it's different from Blu-rays, because yes, if everything is on Switch, that's fine, but like to actually put out a game doesn't mean put out a Switch version. It would mean the Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC version.
Well, they do that. That's why
most of these stupid and not universal. And not only are we rehashing everything every generation, we have to do it on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Just give me the best thing. Give me the 4K Blu-ray. And no, Johnny, I'm not going to start collecting 4K Blu-rays because my favorite movie, There Will Be Blood, winner of 2 Academy Awards, nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, which it incorrectly lost to No Country for Old Men, which is fine. That's also a great movie. There is no 4K Blu-ray version of my favorite fucking movie. And you know what? One of my other favorite movies is Primer, and I have to imagine there's not a 4K Blu-ray of Primer.
So I want you to know, coming soon to 4K UHD from Paramount, There Will Be Blood.
Hey, all right. All right, maybe I should start collecting 4K Blu-rays.
All right. You kept saying this. I'm like, I just want him to know that there is a release of that coming.
I love that. I actually considered, I did collect Blu-rays for a long time, and I 100% fire sold all of it, except for some quote-unquote collectible releases, but I need to get rid of those too, like the Criterion stuff and all that. It really, Sony did it. I think PlayStation 4 didn't play 4K Blu-rays, and then I'm like, okay, so 4K Blu-ray's dead, because literally, you guys, you made DVDs a thing with the PlayStation 2, you made Blu-rays a thing with the PS3, and now this thing doesn't play 4K Blu-rays. It's like, okay, this format's dead in the water. And I'm sure PlayStation 5 plays them, but like, who cares at this point? Like, they've got to be like this super niche thing compared to Netflix, so.
But now it's coming around, and these are going to be 4K Blu-rays are going to be the next hot collectible thing. It's the next vinyl. Jump in now.
Maybe I'm a bad person. I feel like I could almost switch to DVDs at this point, like maybe with like a nice upscale or something, and be happy. Like, I feel like I used to be this like ultra picture quality, ultra sound quality guy, and now I'm just like, I just want to watch the movie. And you know what? DVDs probably look okay. I could probably watch a DVD, Johnny.
You say that, but go watch a DVD.
Maybe I should watch a DVD before I say that. I know I wouldn't watch a Laserdisc. I know those look like garbage. Because I have watched Laserdisc at least in the last 10 years.
So here's the thing. Have you ever been watching a YouTube video and it's playing at 720?
I mean, yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this video? And
then you're that's like, there's also a bitrate thing going on there.
Maybe, but I'm just saying, if you're like, some people just default to like 720 still. I don't know why. Like, this is gross. What is this? I recognize when it's 720 now. And I used to think like not really be able to tell the difference, but now my eyes have been trained. So I think I might see the difference.
All right. We can do DVDs. DVDs are bullshit, Johnny. Blu-rays, which is so a 1080p high bitrate Blu-ray, you go get like the Dark Knight, that is equivalent-ish to like 4K streaming on Netflix, which is more than fine for literally anyone. Not even 4K Blu-rays. Blu-rays are great. They are so good.
Yeah. It also depends on the size of your display too. Like if you're watching 720 on like a 30-inch TV or something, then who cares? But if you are like on a 85-inch television, you're going to want that. You're going to want that better resolution. Anyways, Tyler, we have a couple more dumb ones just to run through. We're like pretty off topic, but these all fall into the same thing. So the Jurassic Park collection was released by Limited Run, and that came with like the Game Boy version, the Nintendo version. It came with Jurassic Park 2, The Cast Continues for Super Nintendo. I think it didn't have the Genesis version on there, and it didn't have like the Master System. Like it didn't have some versions, but they released this collection. But then what they also did is then went and individually released The Chaos Continues for Super Nintendo, a Game Boy cart, and an NES version of it in like an orange shell. I think these are horrible. Like not just because like the collection is fine, but also because these aren't like incredibly expensive games. Like if you want Jurassic Park on the Nintendo, it's not that expensive. If you want Jurassic Park 2, The Chaos Continues for Super Nintendo, you can just go buy it. You just go buy it. Just go buy one. It's not like that big a difference. Just go buy one.
I mean, who bought these? Are we speaking to anyone? Like, reach out to us. Are we speaking to anyone right now who bought Jurassic Park: Classic Games Collection for the Nintendo Switch, the physical copy of this?
No, the physical copy, like, if you bought the Switch version, I get that. You wanted the collection of the games, you're playing them. But, like, if you bought the individual Jurassic Park 2, The Chaos Continues, explain yourself to me. I don't mean that in a rude way. That sounds like very hostile.
$100 for Jurassic Park: The Chaos Continues? What the fuck?
Is it $100?
Oh, there's a collector's edition and a regular edition. They both come in like the Super Nintendo form factor. But Johnny, you can collect all 5 retro collector's editions to complete the trading card set. Oh no, to complete the poster set. So there's 5 editions of the Jurassic Park games, and the backs of the posters make one big poster that looks like trash, by the way.
Oh, good.
And if you are the person who buys 5 $100 Jurassic Park reissue collector's editions, you're not the person who's going to take out the posters and piece together the poster set. This is just like psychological trick nonsense.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. If you want a copy of Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo, you can go get it. You can get it for under $100. You can get part 2 for, let's see. You can get part 1, $80. And you can decide too, because there's one with the splash on it, or the splash badge, and then there's one without for Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo. You can get that for like $65, $60. Pretty good price.
Johnny, buy real video games. I don't think we have to go through every single re-release they've ever put out, but just buy real video games.
Yeah, I just thought this one...
I hate calling these not real video games, but when it comes to Jurassic Park on the Sega fucking Genesis, that's got to be like the most common game next to Aladdin. Just buy real video games.
I brought, like, this one I put on the list because it was a different kind of release. Like, they printed this collection, but then they didn't do a collection of the stuff. They're like, oh, now it gives us an opportunity to sell each one of these, because Jurassic Park is a very popular franchise and they can capitalize on Jurassic Park fans. Kids love dinosaurs, and that remains into their adulthood, apparently. The last one I want to bring up, and well, I got a couple. I got 3 that I want to just bring up real quick. I know, I'm sorry. Blood Rain. They made a Switch version of this, of the Xbox version. Is this something we need? How you feeling about Blood Rain? Like, this is a weird one, right? So, and they made the Switch case try to look like an Xbox.
It is just the ugliest thing. So they have, do they say LRG in the green Xbox font on a Switch game? It is just like the worst. The worst. Yeah.
I hate this a lot.
I don't
It's revamped, so this is like a remaster. There's several different versions of this, but there's also an Xbox version of it too. So, anyways,
there are literally, and I realize like there's different platforms. There's 16 SKUs for Blood Rain revamped, and if there's And like they have the $500 mega bundle. And it's like, no, if you can't just buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 copies of the same game and say like, okay, I'm sure that one of these is the best version to own. And now I'm like safe. Now I have everything, so I don't have to worry about it. No, you need like one good copy of the game. You don't need 10 different copies of the game. It drives me crazy, Johnny.
So yeah, this one I brought up because like Jurassic Park, I get there's a lot of Jurassic Park fans, right? Are there that many? Maybe I just missed the whole Blood Rain thing, but like, are there that many people who are like, oh man, I need Blood Rain and I need this remaster. I need Blood Rain and Blood Rain 2, and this is the best series ever. Maybe I'm missing the fandom for Blood Rain.
I mean, there's a fandom for everything. It goes back to that cult horror stuff. It's just like...
I know there is a fandom, but it's a difference between saying the fandom of Jurassic Park and why we had so many releases versus Blood Rain.
I mean, I think like Blood Rain is kind of recognizable enough, maybe that
you can get
You're not selling this to Blood Rain fans. So, like, again, all these things, you have your core limited run games audience, and you have all their emails, and you have all your impressions on the Instagram page. You just need to put something in front of them, and something triggers in their brain from 2005, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember Blood Rain, and they just have to remember it enough to spend $55 to $455 on your website. It doesn't matter if they're like a big fan. They just have to be like, oh yeah, that's cool that they're re-releasing game I remember from 2005.
They're like, look, boobs. Here you go. Remember that girl? She's got like that super 2000 bob haircut that every girl had, like which was really like popular in the 90s. Okay. Yeah, I guess. By the way, if you want a copy of Blood Rain, you can get one for $15 on the Xbox.
Yeah, but you could also buy 10 copies at once from Limited Run Games for $455.
Or
I'm sorry, that one's sold out.
You can spend $15 on the Xbox. Anyways, the last two I want to bring up, and these had Switch versions, and like they had multiple releases, Switch, PlayStation, everything. But they also had like cart releases, and these are big games. So Gimmick and Bit Trip World. So Bit Trip World, was released in Europe and Japan, never made it to US shores. It's a Sunsoft game. Same with Gimmick. These are like top tier collector pieces for their respective
Bit Trip
systems.
World? You just mean Trip World? Bit Trip
did I say Bit Trip this whole time?
Bit Trip World.
Yeah, Trip World.
Okay.
Bit Trip is a different game. Yeah. I just like making a portmanteau on accident. Sorry, guys. Just Trip World. Anyways, Trip World and Gimmick. Like I said, top rares on their systems. Expensive, considered good. And here they are. These are technically the first US releases, but they also have like a full Switch complement and, modern console release. How are we feeling about the physical releases of these? Are these okay? These ones are like fine?
Sure. If it's never been released in the US, at least it's got something going for it. So yeah, I'm fine with that. And like, I think both of these games fall into that Castlevania Rondo of Blood category of there is someone who wants to own some part of it and doesn't want to spend hundreds of dollars for it. And yeah, sure. Get Gimmick.
Fine.
Gimmick, top 10 game in NES Gimmick.
Gimmick is pretty cool.
Maybe Wizardry 2 pushes it out. It probably doesn't. Gimmick is really good. I love Wizardry 2 though.
Look, we've talked a long time on this bullshit, longer than we probably should have. I just wanted to get your feel because I was just like, why? It just feels like a lot of these games are suddenly coming out all at once, and I was just like, why? Why are people being bamboozled? Are we letting the kids be bamboozled? I don't want that to happen.
I think some amount of people, they don't want to, like, part of the excitement of collecting vintage games is going through a bunch of old stuff that you can't just go to Walmart and buy and finding a Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. Whatever the exciting thing for you is. For Zombie Nation, if you're just trying to find random stuff, like maybe you find a random R6, R7, R8 type game, and that can be exciting. Or if you're just a guy who's like, big Pocky and Rocky fan, just like saving up to buy those Pocky and Rocky games that do cost hundreds of dollars. Or if you're a normal person, there's Halo, there's Sonic, there's Mario, there's all these like very affordable yet still collectible games that you could go get. And I don't understand the kind of person who like makes it their collecting identity, let's say, to go after like these products. These aren't like things that exist that were collectible. These are like marketed to you as like, just buy this and put it on your shelf. Just give us money for this stupid box and put it on your shelf. And none of them are the thing because they're all made as collectibles. These are the closest things video game has to Funko Pops is limited run games. And I'm saying I like some of them. Like some of them are okay. Let's go back.
Gimmick, Trip World.
Sure. Like Trip World and Gimmick.
Hammer
if Gimmick
and
is limited run doing Gimmick, like sure. That stuff's good. I think Retrobit does more of that than limited run games, but other than that, these are the closest things to Funko Pop, where you're just like, oh, Spider-Man, I love Spider-Man, so I need to consume product and put these Spider-Man things on my shelf. to prove that I love Spider-Man. But if
Anyways.
you really love Spider-Man, you would spend $1 million for a mint copy of Action Comics 15. And we all know that. And if you can't afford that, I'm sorry, you don't actually like Spider-Man.
Yeah, nope, too poor. Get out. All right, my final takeaway is, look, if you are just a big fan and you like playing them, sure, don't let us tell you what to do. But if you are thinking that, man, I'm getting this and, I'm really getting value. I'm like, if you feel like, I'm really getting some sweet collectible value or I'm saving money, those are the two wrong attitudes to have about these type of releases. If you're just like, I think this is cool and I'm a fan, or I just want to play these, cool. Any of these are fine, sure. But yeah, you're not gaining value. You're not getting status. None of that's happening. These are not the originals. This is just stuff that at best is fine.
And you don't need to FOMO any of this because literally all they do is put out stuff like this. And not just limited run games and Retrobit and Play Asia and Strictly Limited. All these companies put out this stuff constantly. Every week, something can come across your feed that's like, oh, it's the hot new limited re-release. So for something like Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, where I know every single person listening to this podcast does not care about that game, you don't need to FOMO into any of that, because some other game that you don't actually care about that seems like kind of cool is probably going to come along next week.
And this is just the stuff that we talked about this is just like the last 6 to 7 months of games. This is not even the last year of these types of releases.
Yeah, we literally just went on the websites and just looked at the random. We did no research. Literally just jumped on Play Asia and Limited Run Games, just picked the random stuff that they showed us.
Yeah. So this, we can go back. There's we didn't really get into the Castlevania collections. We didn't even talk about Gargoyles, Final Fantasy collections, all the stuff that came before. I mentioned briefly all the LucasArts stuff that was coming out, and that's in the last year. So, and this is a type of release that is accelerating, not decelerating, right? So you're going to see more of this. And eventually, my worry is there's only so many S tier games, right? Or even A tier games. So how many more Three Stooges are going to occur, or Jurassic Park, 2s are we going to have to suffer through before even any of the cool releases, the Eliminate Downs or something, get pushed out? So, or even the Rocket Knights. So just be aware of that. Just keep your eyes out and let us know how badly we missed the mark. If you're someone who loves this and we totally didn't represent how you feel or can't understand it, then please tell me. I'm not mad to hear. I like to hear different collector perspectives. I love to know why people collect anything. It is, you might say, another hobby of mine. That's why we have this whole show. I like to know and think about why and how people collect. So let me know.
We're all broken people, Johnny. We all collect for the wrong reasons. It's because of psychological addiction.
Yeah, look, I get that part. That's why we have our psychology episode, so we can, bear our spots once in a while. But I meant very specifically, why did those broken people get hooked on these things specifically? Tell me, what was the hook that got them? That's what I want to know. Anyways, that's it. Go buy 4K Blu-rays.
All right. You got me on There Will Be Blood, but now we need Primer, Johnny. All right. Okay. So who owns the rights to Primer, and are they going to release a 4K Blu-ray of a movie that is
100%? That is 100%. They're probably going to have your favorite kind of thing. It's going to be a box set with Primer and Looper.
I literally looked up Primer 4K Blu-ray and Looper 4K Blu-ray came up.
Yeah.
See, Primer doesn't have an individual Blu-ray even. It's bundled with Upstream Color, which is the other movie made by the Primer guy that maybe you've heard of. Mm-hmm. But and that is just Walmart budget bin garbage. Don't bundle two movies together. Primer is an important enough movie to be released on its own. Blu-ray. I can't do the Blu-ray thing, Johnny. I think it's not only that, it's that I watch too many movies and I don't know. I feel for one, there's The Thing. And we always talk about The Thing, and
It's a great movie, John Carpenter.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's the best horror movie of all time. But there is kind of this thing in my mind where the film reel, or even like the hard drive in the modern day, is really the thing, or even maybe a ticket stub of the movie from like the release night or something. Is that the thing? Because the home release of a movie, it could be the best thing. I think the 4K Blu-ray is probably the best physical way to experience a movie, but it's not like the original movie. I think I seriously think collecting ticket stubs would be more interesting to me than collecting Blu-rays.
But that's like, how do you rate a ticket stub? Oh, somebody went and saw this, so I bought their ticket stub. If you didn't see it and it's not your ticket stub, who cares?
I don't know. It's a piece of history from the premiere of that movie, and I think that's interesting. I love ticket stubs because ticket stubs are garbage, so that makes them super collectible. I really like them. I don't think I'm ever actually going to collect them, but when people, the dentist guy, who has like all the sealed early NES stuff, he's into ticket stubs, and I think he has made some questionable choices in video games. But yeah, when he tells me like, oh, this is the ticket stub of the debut of Tom Brady, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's a real piece of history, I think. And video games are mass-produced garbage. Who would buy a video game?
Oh, I don't know, just some people. Some people we know.
But anyway, yeah. So when I look at a video game, and you look at a copy of The Legend of Zelda, like that was the thing. That is the piece of media that represents the game. That's the only piece of media that represents that game. Whereas a movie, it came on came on 35 millimeter film. That's the real movie.
Some movies came on 35 millimeter film. A lot of films are just digital now. So you're just getting a digital transfer of that. So that is the thing. It's the thingiest thing there is.
Yeah, video games have, movies, that now they're all digital. So there is no physical movie anymore. I mean, I think the physical hard drive might count as, if you could buy that. That's probably like not legal to buy.
Well, who cares? The hard drive is just the thing that holds it.
I know. You got to get the data. You got to suck the data out of that hard drive, Johnny. Collect it.
Exactly. That's just the vessel. I was getting into a fight with people about audiobooks, and they're like, no, man, if you're not reading the books are the thing. Audiobooks are okay. I'm like, actually, the story is the thing. The book is just the vessel that holds the story.
But I mean, I would never collect an audiobook version of a book.
No. But there's also the best collectible item of the thing, right? Like with music, people just decided that like, hey, vinyl is like the best collectible version of the thing. Okay, that's fine. I'm here for it. For movies, if people say, like for horror movies, people have decided that like VHS tapes are like the thing. For regular movies, it's going to be 4K. Yeah, all right, cool. Like we decide what the thing is. I'm okay with that. We can make these decisions collectively as a society, and I'm here for it. You know me, I like collecting. So show me what we're collecting now. Who's collecting what and what's new? What are we doing? Ticket stubs, fine. Show me what a cool ticket stub is. People collect concert posters. I get that.
No, concert posters are stupid. Stop it. Get out of here with that go collect nonsense. What the fuck are you talking about? That is the most poser collectible. Okay.
I think
everyone experienced the same movie. So buying a ticket stub, it's like, okay, we both watched There Will Be Blood. It's cool that we have this ticket stub, even if I wasn't there. Buying a poster to a concert you didn't go to is the most poser fucking bullshit. I don't care that you're not arguing for this. There's a concert poster collecting scene. Collecting posters of concerts you did not go to is the most poser garbage, because each individual concert was its own unique experience. I realize the setup and the lights and everything could be exactly the same. It's the same crew and all that, but there are slight differences in how they actually performed, and that's the whole appeal of a live performance. So if you're collecting the concert poster for the specific Kansas City Taylor Swift's Eras tour and you weren't there, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, it might be valuable, but I'm not advocating for people collecting concert posters for things they didn't go to. I have a friend, look, I don't fucking like live music. I said it, guys. Sorry. It's not my thing. I think being in concerts is it's the worst. Just being surrounded by people and it's too noisy. Like, I have sensitive ears. So, like just all the sound and all the bodies and stuff. I hate it. It's not for me.
Wait, Johnny, what if I told you that it also sounds like 10% as good as their produced like actual record because it's the live version.
Yeah, people are like, oh, but the energy and all that. I'm like, I can't focus on the energy. I'm focusing on all the other things that I'm hating all at once, which is a lot different than like classical concerts where you go and like sit down and appreciate some music like that. I'm cool with that. But like if it's a big concert and there's like a lot of people dancing and screaming and have their phones up, and I can't fucking do it. I don't want to. I hate it. I hate the whole aspect of it. But some people really enjoy that. They want to collect a poster from that thing they went to commemorate that event. I get it. My wife goes to plays. She always has to get a playbill. It's like, yeah, that's her like token from the physical thing she went. I get it. So I get why people collect those things. Now collecting a movie poster from, or collecting a concert poster from the thing you didn't go see, that's like a little weirder to me, but people love music. Fine.
Johnny, CGC will grade them. It's an investable category.
Yeah.
This is a joke. Do not go.
Investables.
The entire category is just a fake collectible. Do not buy concert posters.
Yeah. And we're keeping our investables thing going, which I like.
The number one active seller right now in concert posters is the Fish Madison Square Garden 2023 poster.
Oh,
let's look at the completed sales. Oh, a lot of them are not certified. They go for $25 to $500. I guess there must be variants. It's a cool poster.
My friend has been looking for, he went to a White Stripes concert and he's been looking for the specific poster from his event for a long time now. And he is like,
I think that's fine. Like, yeah. I would want to go do that.
Yeah. Well, I said, I get that. That's fine. Anyways, my point was, tell me what you're collecting and why you're collecting it. I don't care what it is. I like to know. Like, tell me why you collect baseball cards. I love the psychology of collecting. I love hearing why people do what they do.
Someone show me a ticket stub collection because I love ticket stubs.
Tyler, check your pictures right now on your phone.
Are you showing me some stubs?
Yeah, there it is. There's my ticket stub collection.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So for all those who can't see this and the worst kind of content, but yeah, I sent him what he was talking about. Who's keeping their ticket stubs? I literally have a stack of my ticket stubs that I used to just always throw in a box after I'd go see a movie. And now they're in a little bag and I don't know why I have them. I should probably just throw them away.
So here's the thing. I like the idea of collecting the ticket stubs from when I go see a movie, but I hate going to see movies. It's the same thing as a concert. Like I hate being in a theater. I think the home experience is 100% better than the theater. So I never see movies in theaters, so I have no ticket stubs to go collect.
See, I don't feel that way about movies. Like, look, when you're like, I can't go see like a Friday night release of the newest movie. I think that's like kind of terrible. Like, I just don't want to be in a theater. Sorry, teenagers. I just don't want to be in a theater with you while you're like on your phones and like talking, or even dumb adults. Like, the worst is like people always complain that like, oh, you know, millennials and Gen Zs, they don't know how to behave in a movie theater. And then like literally the last couple times I went, you know who was talking? It was like people older than me. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. You know better. You're the people who would complain about kids doing this. What the fuck is happening right now? Thankfully,
Johnny, no one talks in my living room, and I get to sit on my couch, and the floor's not sticky, and my dog sits in the same room as me. It's a pretty great experience.
Oh, look, I like it too. I have a big TV and a nice sound system because I also enjoy that. I think there's something lost a little bit, like the communal experience, especially with like comedies. I think that's like a little lost, especially because I'm not like a big big out loud laugher. That's not something I do a lot of. So I like to hear other people laugh because I'm more of like, smile because I thought that was funny. So yeah, I like it when there's a group of people laughing.
Why would you want to see a comedy though? Don't you just watch movies to feel like the most depressed and empty, and you just want to see the most depressing thing on screen possible?
No. No, sometimes I enjoy comedies.
Being happy watching movies is pretty overrated.
I mean, the last movie I went and saw was Godzilla -1 though, so you gotta go see Godzilla. Go see that. Go see it. Real good.
I will wait for it to be on streaming.
And you won't laugh once.
Good. Oh yeah, I think I heard. All right. We don't need to get too off topic, but I've heard good things about Godzilla -1. I've heard people say like, I did not expect to be emotionally affected by a Godzilla movie.
Yeah. Pretty good. Enjoyed it a lot. Anyways, Tyler, we are in the next portion of the show where we answer collectors' questions, as if that's not what all of this has been about. But
wait, Johnny.
So
you just brought up Godzilla, and it reminded me of a point I forgot to make. I know we have complained about this, but you know what is one of these fucking companies? It's the Criterion Collection, which yes, they're a little bit of a pretentious distributor, but you know what? They've got a lot of good stuff. One of the things they got is that Godzilla collection, and every time they put out a collection, it feels special. Because they have great packaging. They always have great packaging. It's got great, unique art. They always have essays and stuff included with it. It makes the films feel important. And Godzilla, it comes in this thing. It's like a coffee table book is the format almost. And you flip through it, and it's got all the Blu-rays in it. And it's great. And you know what none of these fucking collections have? Stickers and pins and statues, because that's the stuff that people at Best Buy buy, and they know you're a sophisticated person and you don't want stickers because that shit makes it feel less important. That makes it feel like it's a collector's edition for dum-dums. So, if you want to make the game feel important, if you really want to put it on a pedestal, don't include a pin with it. That will make it feel more special.
I think you are correct.
Right.
They have a really good version of the soundtracks too for the Showa era of Godzilla from 1954 to 1975. It's like 15 records long, and they came out in like a really nice box set and stuff, and it's like nice art, cool colors on the vinyl. Super cool. I'm not a super Godzilla guy, even though I've talked about it seemingly a lot lately. But this was a sweet set. It was like $450 too. And there's no stickers, Tyler. They didn't put any stickers in the box for me.
The Super Mario record, Johnny, the original soundtrack, it does have a sticker, I think.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Well, see, if it's like one, that might make it collectible. See, but the other thing is, I love like gimmicky stuff on vinyl. Like when it has like a gag built in.
No, stop.
Did I tell you about the Gremlins?
Yes, you told me about Gremlins, and you get it wet, and you bring it outside, and it's stupid.
Yeah,
no, that's stupid.
No, that's great. And then like, there's a version of Creepshow which has a cool slip mat involved. I like that kind of stuff. I like a little bit, but you know.
All right,
and
I'm
I
getting
keep
a
the hype
question
stickers
for you right now, Johnny.
Yeah, do that. Give me a question, and I'm going to send you a link to those records so you can see how nice they look. Like, they look nice enough where I was like, I don't really care about Godzilla, but man, these are nice looking.
NZ Collector asks, following up from one of Shandata's questions 2 weeks ago, or last week. Do we do this every week? No, it's every 2 weeks. Since the Xbox 360 had an HD DVD add-on, do you think people will get crazy enough to the point that they count HD DVDs as part of the set? Let's make full sets as dumb and arbitrary as possible.
Okay, so I'm going to say somebody will. No one's going to agree with them, but there'll be like 4 people who like try to make that a thing, just like the people who in Game Boy Advance try to push the Game Boy Advance movies. Just get out of here with that. No one cares.
I like the Game Boy Advance movies.
I know you do.
That is so dumb.
Garbage.
But I don't know what I would do. That would definitely be in that would be a sub list on my set. That would not be in the main list. So, yeah.
I like, you know what? If you wanted to tell me to have the complete Xbox 360 collection, you needed like that add-on and the King Kong that came with it. I got you. I get it.
No, absolutely. You can't just put the one thing in a set. That's ridiculous.
No, it came with it. It like King Kong came with that. So that was like the bundle.
No one collects every accessory for a set. That's like saying for the NES set, yeah, you need the hands-free controller.
No. But if they were like, oh, I collect all the accessories too, I have to have that. And actually, was it that the HD drive actually came with King Kong, or did it allow you to choose from one of 5 movies when it came out? I think that's what it was. I think you could pick from like one of like 5 or 10 movies.
I don't know a single person that didn't have it with King Kong.
Maybe it did just come with King Kong, because I had it with King Kong. And man,
I got it. My roommates in college got it, but it was in like the clearance bin at Fry's or something, and it was $20, and I'm pretty sure it came with King Kong.
Okay. Anyways, maybe that was an additional offer, like you got one more or something. I just remember there being like a selection thing.
I think, anyway, going back to the question, which we did not answer at all, I think it's stupid to include non-games in the set, because it's like, what's the set? It's the set of games. Like, you have to be really specific. I'm collecting the set of video games that came out in America during the lifetime of the Xbox 360, in case there's weird games that come out in 2024 for the Xbox 360. It's very possible. You have to be really specific when you're defining what your set even is. You can't just say Xbox 360 set. That just doesn't mean anything. It's too broad of a thing. That's kind of our thing here, to be specific defining your set. What do you actually mean? Also, maybe just don't collect sets anymore. I think it's interesting if you're like the Xbox 360 guy. I bet if you've been collecting Xbox 360 for 10 years, like, I bet you're pretty close to having every game, because they're not super rare or expensive. I realize that there's a lot of grind in collecting because there's so many of them. And if you want to like go after the HD DVD set, I think that's maybe like, if that's your thing, if you were only an Xbox 360 guy, I think that would be an interesting thing to go for. But I don't think any game collector is ever going to care about stuff like that.
Okay, so I did just a little bit of research here. If you're going down this rabbit hole, there are, according to this post, and this is an old ass post from 2012, there were 484 titles released domestically. So the US. 91 are exclusive. And there are 3 that were pending. So there could be around 500-ish HD DVD titles, and then there was another 53 Paramount DW movies, and these are Paramount specific discs, I guess.
That feels really low. How many UMD movies are there?
I don't know. I haven't looked that one up, but it seems obtainable. And if you want something that probably people don't care about, you can get on cheap. Show me your HD collection. Show me them HD DVDs. Show me you have all 400 of them or 500 of them. I want to see it.
Okay, so really quick Google on a really sketchy website lists 667 UMD movies and TV shows, meaning there are more UMDs than HD DVDs, which is nuts.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Johnny, Rip Tear asks, would you recommend a beginning collector take a shotgun approach or narrow the scope of their search, e.g. specific system or genre?
I think we did an episode about this before this or after this question was already written.
Well, just answer it again, because we're here now.
Well, we have 2 different takes. All right. We both believe that you should make a list. You should really pick the things that you want to buy, and you should go after the stuff you like best. Tyler will tell you that he pick your top thing, like get your 3 top things or whatever, and that's what's going to make you happy. I say if you know you're going to buy all that stuff, make a list of 20 to 30 things and buy opportunistically until you have them all, and then maybe target your top one if your top one also isn't like a bank buster, like an unrealistic collectible. If it's like a $20 game, then yeah, obviously get the top ones first within price range. But I like to hunt for the best deals possible while also staying focused on what I'm looking for.
Sure. I don't even think you have to worry about deals if you're just starting collecting, because there's going to be so many games that you want. It's more about prioritizing the chaos. Like, if I started collecting video games from zero, and I'm an adult in my 30s with a real job and expendable money, I have more than, say, $15 a month to spend on video games. And if I'm looking at Xbox 360 or PS2, I could go absolutely ham. I could buy, I like PS2. What do I remember? Let me buy every Sly Cooper game, God of War, all the Final Fantasies, and those games would be $10 each, and I could just load up on that stuff.
But what if they're collecting Super Nintendo? What if, it doesn't mean they're just a new collector. They're not necessarily young or care about PlayStation 2
but
or
there's
3.
probably not a guy who's just into Super Nintendo. They might be into video games from their childhood, and they're thinking about Super Nintendo, N64, Atari 2600. And that's where I think almost everyone is going to take a shotgun approach. I don't see any new collectors who are disciplined enough to be I'm going to start collecting video games and only collect complete in box Super Nintendo games. That is the only thing I am interested in. So I just think that it's important that if you are new and you're throwing out lots of money because everyone, when they start a new hobby, they're just like, let me spend all the money and get all the cool things. To just be aware of like, okay, if you're into Super Nintendo games, like maybe if you find a good deal on Lester the Unlikely, maybe even though it was a good deal and you don't have it yet, that you should focus your priorities more and make goals, all the things that we always talk about. Because I know when I was a new collector for, I don't know, the first 10 years I collected or so, I would just buy literally anything I didn't have, Johnny. And I think that is a bad way to collect. I think if someone focused with my same budget, if they focused on collecting good stuff for 3 months, they probably could have had a better collection than I built over the first 10 years of me collecting. Just because that's how unfocused I was.
Yeah, and it sounds weird to say, but like if you go back and listen to our old episodes where we did like drafts, the prices aren't going to be relevant, but like that approach to like you have this much money and see what kind of collection you could go buy if you're just looking for the best stuff. That's a fun way to approach it. So I just helped a friend, like he's just starting, he's a vinyl collector. He has a lot of vinyls. He's not like a dummy or anything. But he really wanted to collect some of these original Beatles first prints. So, you know, it's like overwhelming because there's so much choice. So I like sat down with him, like talk about, okay, here's how you make your list here. Here's what to focus on, you know, make sure your priorities are right. Know what kind of condition you're looking for. Like, okay, like let's say what's harder to find, a nicer sleeve or a nicer piece of vinyl. Like what condition are you looking for? Know what condition and completeness you want. Have a list. And like you can do all that and still like, that's what I was saying. You can still kind of have the shotgun approach, but you have narrowed it down. So like shotgun versus like a bazooka approach, I guess would be what I would advocate for. And the more refined you can get that, the tighter your spread, the better.
Did you tell him to put the 1970 first print UK release of Black Sabbath Paranoid on his list of Beatles records to collect?
No, because that's not a UK Beatles first print.
Sick record though. He should own it.
It's
the God of War of 1970 metal.
I think he does own it. He's got like 600 pieces of vinyl. He's got a lot of records.
Is that what you call them? You call them pieces of vinyl? I
mean, that's what I call them. I don't got all the lingo down. Like, and what I'm doing is like pretty specifically niche. And someone already corrected me because I'm like, well, what is this ID number they have? You mean like the catalog number? I'm like, there's a term for this. Great. Thank you for informing me.
You're like walking into the stamp collection. They're like, what? They always have money on them. What does the money part mean?
Well, yeah. Well, I just want. Well, it's like I'm like they always have this identifier on the side. Well, it's weird because I'm like I know about the Matrix and the Runoff, but like the specific companies like put their little like number on. I'm like, oh, it's a catalog number. Okay, but then their lists weren't great. They were in like PDF. So who made a list? I made a list.
You're the best.
But I'm like, here you guys go. If you want to like checklist for your collections, here you go. But also Discogs is great, and you can just like put that shit in there and solve all of your life problems if you collect vinyl.
I wish we had a Discogs.
God, I wish we had a Discogs. If you like, music collectors have it so good they don't even know.
They must know.
I bet they do. Like, you want to know what made it easy to like collect and buy vinyl and like know if I was getting a good deal or not? Discogs. Thanks, Discogs.
Johnny, what are you buying? What are you playing?
Tyler, I am not buying anything because it's only been a week since we recorded last, so I did not buy anything. I got some bids out. I may have bought you a controller.
Oh, yeah.
That was like pretty much it.
I've been playing a lot of RPGs on my Steam Deck because I don't like sitting down and playing RPGs, but like in bed, like lean to the side, like looking at my Steam Deck from an angle, like the World of Warcraft South Park guy, just like grinding. I could play RPGs like that. I'm fine with that. That's what I've been doing with my Steam Deck. Not even using the controls built into the Steam Deck, using a Bluetooth controller.
Have you considered just getting some like Velcro straps and using your little rolly stand?
Yeah, I thought about doing it. My Steam Deck is still too new to where I feel like I want to use a DIY solution to hold it in place to my little iPad bed stand. But once it's a little bit older and like I feel like I won't care too much if I drop it. You know, like when a laptop gets around 2 years old, you're like, all right, I could throw this on the couch now. Like once the Steam Deck gets to that age, then I'm going to come up with some kind of solution.
Look, I bet they have an arm for it already, like an arm for the bed. I bet there's already something like that that's on Amazon.
Yeah. I think I looked at like I 3D printed a stand for it. I'm sure they have a 3D printed thing that like nails into a pegboard type deal.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm sure there's like an articulated arm already. Because they have them for iPads and it's just like generic electronic devices. I bet there's a good one already.
Yeah, so you got me the Super Nintendo Switch controller. So it turns out, this is really weird, 90% of the games I play are NES and Super Nintendo. At least on like emulators. So I don't want analog sticks on my controller. That's just like a waste. It's just like annoying things that are in the way. Don't care about them. And like every Bluetooth controller you can get now is like that 8BitDo's Super Nintendo controller with the analog sticks built into it. And they don't make the one that's just a Super Nintendo controller, except the one that comes with the Super Nintendo plugin. It's not Bluetooth. It's 2.4 gigahertz. And like all these controllers have bad D-pads anyway. So like I could get like a Bluetooth Super Nintendo controller for $9 from China, but it's going to be garbage. So I think the best emulator controller now might be the Switch Super Nintendo controller, which I have not used yet, but I have to imagine it's at least pretty good. And it won't let me buy one because I don't have a fucking Switch Online subscription, so I had to get you to buy it for me.
Yep.
They didn't want my $30. Although, to be fair, if I don't have a Switch Online subscription, the only thing I'm using it for is to pirate Nintendo games. So it makes sense that they wouldn't want to sell it to me. But also, fuck you, Nintendo. I literally own all these games already. So I'm not really pirating them. Although, I downloaded the ROM. So I'm pirating them anyway. But you know.
And I say but not really. You were just like, I want it. I was like, perfect. You deserve something for doing all this hard work on the podcast, and what a great thing to be able to just throw at you. Cool.
Anyway, yeah. So I've been into my NES games, Johnny. I'm in the mood to play some old ass RPGs, and I usually am not. So I'm kind of taking advantage. I'm harvesting this energy to kind of like knock out my backlog stuff. Because like there's always those RPGs like, oh yeah, one day, like, dude, I really do need to play Seiken Densetsu 3. Like, and you have that in the back of your mind, and it's like, whew, when am I going to put aside 40 hours to go do that? But I've got that energy. My next game on my list is Pool of Radiance. But literally, since we have stopped recording last time, every waking hour of my life, I've been playing Might and Magic on NES, Johnny. And
that is
I am
crazy.
100% sure that is the longest NES game. That game is like 100 hours with a guide. Without a guide, it's impossible. Like that is a game like you would give a kid, and if they cared about figuring it out and making all the maps, it might be 500 hours long. Because not only is it very big and very slow, but it also has a bad translation.
So perfect.
There's a castle you have to go to in the game, and if you're missing a certain item, the guards say, the guard exclaims, and then there's nothing, and he kicks you out. And you don't know what he exclaimed. It was just never translated. So you don't know what you need to get into the castle. You just have to explore every single tile of the game until you find what you want. It's
perfect.
There's a bunch of stuff like that. Anyway, Might and Magic it's the most epic game on NES, but it's maybe not fun. I kind of understand why no one really talks about it. It's better on Apple. You should buy the Apple version. All right. Anyway, that's what I'm into now. I've got the patience for this for some reason when I'm normally playing games like Ninja Gaiden. Johnny, what am I buying?
Yeah, what are you buying?
I bought a nice complete in box copy of Wrecking Crew 98.
Did you really?
I sure did. It was so expensive. But it was open auction, so I guess I got it for what it goes for.
What did you get it for?
$179.
Man, like, you fucking dick, because I was going to buy you a Wrecking Crew.
I didn't look up prices at all. There was just a really nice one that came up, and Tiger Wolf told me about it, and he's like, oh, you probably regret telling people that you want this, and one comes up. It's like, I'm not, like, actually looking for this. No, you could get one cheaper than I bought one. Don't spend this much money on Wrecking Crew 98. I literally just put out a random bid without looking up prices, and I was wrong.
you overpaid a little, but I like you're going to pay over $120 for a decent copy.
It's probably like $140 for this game.
Yeah.
You know what? Looking at the ones on that are like $138 buy it now, mine's a little bit nicer, so I probably paid what mine was worth.
Yeah, like I don't think you got totally hosed or anything, because
right.
like Hit Japan has like an okay copy, but I think it's sun faded.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on some of them. All right, whatever. So, anyway, I got Wrecking Crew 98. It's a Mario game, and guess what? None of you have it. Because no one thinks about Wrecking Crew 98. I don't even like Wrecking Crew. We just had an episode where I'm like, don't buy the stupid shiny shit that you don't even like. And I'm like, I got Wrecking Crew 98, a game that I definitely won't like. Guys, it's part of a set. It's a goal. Having every Mario game is a goal, so you gotta own Wrecking Crew 98 for some reason.
I have some bids and offers going on some Wrecking Crew 98.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
we're manipulating the market for Wrecking Crew 98s, Johnny. If you buy one, we will be like the two people who bought one most recently, meaning we are creating the market for Wrecking Crew 98.
Let's do it. All right, I'm doing it. Can't stop me now.
I'm sorry, does Wrecking Crew 98 have nothing to do with Wrecking Crew? I've never even seen gameplay for this game. It's a puzzle game. It's like a panel puzzle game.
No, there are levels in it that look exactly like Wrecking Crew.
Okay. All right, whatever.
There's like ladders up to doors and shit. Yeah, it's there. Anyways, I think that's it, Tyler. I didn't say what I've been playing, but it was still just Diablo. I'm just grinding my way through the end of season of this Diablo, getting my barbarian to level 100.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Hey, Tyler.
I mean, whatever. I play these games too. It could be fun.
Look, I've got the gear is just about right. I'm just looking for better gear. I'm level 95. I hate playing a barbarian so very much. After I played a ball lightning sorcerer, and what a dream that is, because that's just like being a conduit shrine the whole time, and it's awesome. And then you play a barb, and it sucks. Like, I know some people really like that, but man, just not for me. Just like smash. Very.
Yeah, magic users are always the most fun and often most powerful characters, Johnny. What are you doing playing anything but a magic user?
I in Final Fantasy, I really don't love being the magic characters. Like, I really like having the fighter and stuff. Like having a variety. But this, like, we're just playing through, like, every season we play through like a different character type so we can experience all of them. That was like my friend's stated goal. He's like, I want to get each character type up to 100. And I just told him, I don't think I can play the druid because I actually hate the way the character model looks. So I don't think I can play it. It's like, it doesn't matter if you choose the male or the female one. They're just like so hideous to look at. I'm just like, this is fucking awful. Like, I know, and like, you only see it when you start the game and like but it's enough. You see it enough that it's no, thank you. Like, I don't know why they built them like refrigerators and made them look horrible. So, anyways. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Tyler. That's it for this show. Hopefully by the next episode, we are both in possession of a Wrecking Crew 98.
Yes, and then you can post it on Instagram and get everyone really hyped up about how it's one of the rarest Mario games, and it's super exciting, and everyone's talking about owning Wrecking Crew 98.
The next video I post on Instagram is going to be inviting people to join the Crowned Elephant Club by buying Babar on the Game Boy Advance.
Yes, also everyone buy Babar on Game Boy Advance. And shout out to my Get the Greg Games crew, Johnny, because they bought like 40 copies of sealed Devil May Cry on PS2. So also, we have to pump that to the moon to make sure everyone can really cash in on their sealed Devil May Cry investments on PS2.
Cool. Anyways, that is it for the show. If you want to find us, hey, you can do so by joining. You don't even need to join. You can find us both on Discord. But if you want to talk to us in our specific Discord, the Collector's Quest Discord, you can do that by joining us on Patreon for $2. $2 will get you in. $4 will get you our After Darks, which is just like bonus content where Tyler and I talk about bullshit, or I talk to members of our Discord or collectors who have some like awesome insight. And yeah, you can do that by going to Patreon.com/collectorsquest if you want. If not, just keep listening this way. That's all that matters to us. Hope you're enjoying everything. Hope your new year is starting off great. Thanks so much for listening, and sorry if we gate kept through this whole episode. Bye!